What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto was betrayed by his own blood and built an empire of shadows? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments, and also check the description box to original creator of this beautiful creation. A regal-looking young man no older than 19 years of age with long spiking blonde hair, wearing a burnt orange sleeveless overcoat with black flame edging along the bottom of the coat. Under the coat he wore black samurai armor with light-toned orange edging over a pair of gray pants and shirt. Staring at the rock garden, losing himself to peaceful moment, he fingered a green stone necklace he wore around his neck. 6 years. It had been 6 eventful years ever since his banishment from Konoha after nearly killing himself, to bring back the last Uchiha, Sasuke, instead of a welcome back, or even a thank you. His reward was scorn and banishment. The reason? Releasing the nine-tailed fox's chakra and the attempted killing of the Uchiha, even if said Uchiha had transformed into monster with 2 giant hands like wings from that sealed the snake Teme and willingly using the damn thing to kill him. Now this didn't hurt him. He was glad to be away from the spiteful village, but what hurt him was that everyone he thought he could trust, everyone he thought was his friends and family, betrayed him. Tsunade had scowled him for the wounds Sasuke had received. Despite being badly injured himself, with a hole the size of a fist in his chest, she didn't even finish healing him, stating the fox can repair the rest of the damages, and told him off on his stupidly. His sensei, Hitaki Kakashi, who told him those who abandon their teammate are trash, had left him to rot. His teammates, Sakura, had shunned him. Sasuke rammed his lighting-infused hand into his chest. Spoke volumes, as did the entire Rookie 9, Team Guy, and most of all, Iruka, his big brother, and Jiraiya, his so-called godfather. The only one who never betrayed him was Hinata. In fact, she was at his side every moment up to the day he left, confessed her love to him only before his banishment. It still hurts him to know he could now never return her feelings. Shortly after he left, Tsunade had told the whole village of Naruto's dark secret, in the hope of making his friends see him as a hero. Had backfired. Now they see him as a threat that needed to be locked away or killed. So he was sure Hinata would hate him as well, but he wasn't sure after hearing what happened after he left to the western lands. When news of his banishment reached waves, spring, Suna, every country and ninja villages he went to on missions, instead of damning him, they closed ranks behind him. Some even tried to find him and offered him a place within their nations or village. Unable to find him, the counties and hidden villages broke all agreements with Konoha and the Land of Fire. Suna and Waves threatened to return any Konoha ninja found trespassing on their lands in box with air holes, or in Suna's case a matchbox with Gaara's way in handling unwanted guests. Fire Daimyo was less than pleased with Konoha when word of Naruto's banishment reached him, followed by every treaty Fire had gained thanks to Naruto been torn up. Fire Daimyo knew who his mother and father were and owned them for saving his life. Once he believed Konoha would take care of Naruto, fox or no fox. It seems he had been far too trusting in Konoha and having failed to check up on Naruto. Fire Daimyo may have been a bit flowfish at times. He was man of honor and felt the need to atone for his inaction and loss of face with the other Daimyos. After heading straight to the disgrace of Ninja Village with his bodyguards and army of samurai, he ordered Konoha not to send herder nins after him while he tore them a new asshole and slashed their funding to make up for the lost trade. Naruto soon realized how blind he was when he was out of the village for good. It was like the wool had been removed from his eyes. He could see clearly. Now, compared to popular belief, he wasn't the loud idiot he made himself out to be. It was a mask he wore, as a self-defense to use against the villagers who hurt him over the years. It even fooled him at times. Now he had no need for it, and so he was free. He also found out his heritage before his banishment. How? A small scroll that somehow mysteriously appeared in his apartment. He could remember how shocked he was to find out he was the son of the 4th Hokage, Konoha's Yellow Flash, Namikaze Minato, and red-hot-blooded habanero, Uzumaki Kushina, and second host of the 9 Tails, who made the very seal that held the 9-tailed fox with their own blood and chakra. It strengthened his hatred towards Konoha. How much more had it kept from him? The old man Hokage's letter on how much he regrets on his mistake of informing the village about him and his father's last request to be seen as a hero, and how the village elders forayed him from giving him his heritage. They even wanted to make him a mindless weapon. It wouldn't have happened if that masked ninja hadn't kidnapped his mother, who held the fox, and controlled Kyuubi to attack the village. The scroll also contained the family fortune and the scrolls of his father and mother, including the scrolls of the Uzumaki sealing arts, which now he is a master of. But he wasn't alone on his travels. The very demon inside of him was his closest friend. At first Kyuubi was still the rage-filled demon, which tired to get him to release the seal so it can wipe out Konoha. To the west of the known elemental countries, things were done much different in many aspects. Firstly, since the hidden wars hadn't gotten near these lands, the population was higher because there were no great wars to diminish human life. Also, the first hidden war saw the end of the samurai era, but only in the east. To the west, both ninja and samurai worked together to create a strong, military force for which all the Western countries used. Another difference was race of humans known as the Yoki humans with certain anatomical attributes that are considered normal, such as animal ears and tails. The West's outlook on demons was very open compared to the East's. Kyuubi was somewhat ashamed to admit that she wasn't the most powerful beast or demon that walked the lands. There were demons that lived here in the West would make even her think twice in picking a fight with. Thankfully most of them were passive and didn't attack without a good reason to. Still Kyuubi was feared and respected by the demons in the West. But lastly, the biggest difference was in fact a flaw of the western part of the continent. Unlike the East, after the last 3 hidden wars there was strong central governments that held power, such as the daimyos. The West was nearly a lawless and chaotic place. Local warlords and bandit kings rose up and took power away from the daimyos, leaving them powerless, and used their newfound power to terrorize and control the countries. Some warlords even sought to expand their power and declared war on other warlords, fighting over land and resources. While the wars were less frequent, it didn't mean they were less fierce. Many battles resulted in both sides losing many soldiers, samurai, and ninja that resulted in the death of one or both warlords participating in the fight. However, a sad fact, there would always be another warlord who would rise up and take the place of his predecessor. When he arrived in the West, he ran afoul with the local bandits, but a group of patrolling Roth clan ninjas saved his life, and when they were healing him they saw spiral seal on his stomach and knew what he was. The Roth leaders studied his seal and asked what was his clan name. Came as a shock, it was Uzumaki. In the past both clans had came across each other in the past and then asked what was host. He got ready to fight his out. Kyuubi was getting ready to aid her host but was dumbfounded when Roth didn't bat an eyelash at that. They were accepting in the fact of him being Jinchuriki to Kyuubi and did not fear him because of it, but the children, the younger ones, wanted to become Jinchuriki to get those kitty whiskers. Naruto face faulted at hearing that and shot that idea down, saying he was born with them. This made many children to pout. After retelling his story, the clan leader welcomed him as a part of the clan, not for power he held but to show what felt it like to have a family. While surprising to many of the Roth clan and the joy to pair twins Naruto had befriended when he was healing. He was brought up to speed on what's going on in the West, and he didn't like what he heard. There were a few ninja and samurai clans who were neutral and powerful enough to warn away the more powerful warlords away from their lands, being to much trouble for little gain, but were too small to challenge the warlords' armies. The Hojo clan attempted to fight the warlords in open battle but were wiped out. The Roth clan fell into this grouping and were the largest clan in the local area. In the past they were trying to form a hidden village with other ninja clans. Even few samurai clans were interested. But after the Hojo's fall, made many other neutral clans became hesitant in joining forces or shared their fate. The Roth clan and many others now were being harassed by minor warlords day and night to become their allies or attacked by damned bandits who tried to enslave, to outright massacring the whole clan and take all the loot and women from the village they protected. More than once the Roth clan leader Erla, who easily ranked Senin herself, had to rescue one of her clan from bandits who were having their way with the usably a female Roth clan ninja, and was nicknamed Bandit Slayer. When he arrived it was getting worse. There had been talks of an all-out war between the major warlords that would make last 3 hidden wars in the East look like 3-year-old schoolyard fight. Naruto was at a loss. He wanted to help. Kyuubi remarked that she would be a lot more useful other than a power source, but without a host she would lose herself to her rage. Naruto gave that a thought and bounced the idea to Erla. She did know a way using a blood clone and soul transferred, but she wasn't sure that it would work. She only studied those jutsus, so that idea was shelved. Besides, Naruto would die if Kyuubi was removed. Oddly, both clans seemed to have one half of Senin of 6 paths Fuinjutsu, and both Fuinjutsu styles were based of their part of Senin of 6 paths Fuinjutsu. Uzumaki used the swirl as the primary for their seals. Roth used characters as their primary for their seals. Both used the wed-like array sendon of 6 paths made. Uzumaki arrays had raw power and need a large area to be placed. Roth arrays lacked power but had control and needed less space. When he and Roth leader tested both east and west types of exploding notes while mocking each other on who had the better exploding notes, east or west, what happened? Both tags arrays seemingly combined before exploding with the force of 100 tags. They both nearly gotten killed from the shock wave and bit burnt, but were in awe at combined power. After going though every scroll on Fuinjutsu, find out how the impossible became possible and found the very jutsu to free the fox. It seemed the great sendon of 6 paths was working on a way to bind the 9 chakra beasts into living shells for them to live out their lifespan as living beings of flesh and blood, but the great sage was nearing the end of his life before he can use it. Naruto still doesn't think fate rules over life. He had a feeling that old Target Eyes had planned this from beyond the grave to make this happen. A lot of work went into the releasing of Kyuubi from the seal with all of Cutie's power intact and keeping himself alive thanks to his mother's blood in his veins. His Uzumaki blood and blood of a foxyoki was used to birth a shell to house Cutie chakra. After being freed, Kyuubi was no longer the semi-mindless beast and felt saddened for her hand in his parents' death and apologies to him. She became the first of many allies. Kyuubi acted like a older sister to him. After being freed, she vowed to be at his side instead of going after the masked man who was it as Uchiha Madara, teaching him many useful things not just in the ways of ninja she learned when sealed inside the sendon of 6 paths, and she still can't do half the stuff the god of modern ninja did before he became the host for the 9-tailed beasts. But in the 3 lifetimes she had been sealed also learned many other aspects of life which she imparted to him along with Erla, Raven and Mara, so this came useful when he gained an ambition which would make him the most powerful ruler in the land. After learning about the West's problems, Naruto saw the lawlessness of the land, and together with Kyuubi, Uzumaki Naruto vowed to unite the land, to bring peace to the Roth clan and the war-torn land in the West. He became first known throughout the land when he took on and killed one of the most dangerous warlords, the proclaimed and much feared Demon King, Oda Nobunaga. Nobunaga had been for pushing the Roth clan to allied with him for years after he became a major power in the region. Only reason he hadn't overran their territory yet, seeing as he respected Erla and clan's skills, knowing he would lose a lot troops in wearing her and clan down. But with talk of all-out war between the major warlords, it was only a matter of time before Nobunaga would take care of any problems at his rear before going after the major warlords. Naruto had the battle scars to prove that Nobunaga rightfully earned the title of Demon King. Nobunaga fought like a demon. He even wielded the fable sword, the blade of the Demon King, and wasn't even being controlled by the blade's aura like many others that held it. Kyuubi even remarked that Nobunaga's chakra was as dark and evil as Uchiha Madara's. But thankfully Naruto had trained hard for this and managed to gain a weapon that can match the blade of the Demon King, the legendary dragon sword, but it was still close. Naruto chuckled. Nobunaga's chakra was dark and evil, but he knew this land needed to be united under one leader. In his last breath, Nobunaga with a smile on his face proclaimed Naruto as the one to succeed and surpass him in his ambition, unite the land as Shogun of the West. "Well Nobunaga, you were right about me. Hope you're having a good time with Zabuza in hell," muttered Naruto, knowing those two. He'll bet that they're running place if the demons in hell didn't match up with their standards on what demons should be. "Kit, the Daimyos have arrived and are waiting for your arrival," spoke a red-hair woman. "Thanks Kyuubi, let's not keep them waiting," Naruto said and walked with Kyuubi to the meeting room. Konoha Hokage Tower. Tsunade sighed. The kamis must have cursed Konoha after Naruto's banishment. Sasuke escaped to Oto. Every country where Naruto had missions broke off all trade and treaties they made with Konoha, and any ninjas from Konoha were treated as hostile invades. And because of the stupidity of the elders, Konoha, instead of fighting just Oto, now Iwa and Kumo sided with Oto, and their allies Kuretake and Suna were only allies in name and have abandoned Konoha in their time of need. Tsunade sat in her behind her desk with her fingers interlocked in front of her face, with Shizune beside her. Standing in front of her was the assembled team in which they would prove to be the salvation of Konoha. Kakashi Hitaki, Kurenai Yuhi, Kiba Inuzuka, Shino Aburame, Sakura Haruno, and Hinata Hyuga. Many of the selected group was of the former Rookie 9, and she picked each one for a different reason. Kakashi Hitaki was a skilled Jonin, with over 1,000 jutsu and the legendary Sharingan. He would be a formidable opponent to anyone they met. He was also sensei of the now-deceased Team 7, and knew the boy, Naruto Uzumaki, quite well. She secretly hoped that if they did encounter Naruto along the way, even though it was a slim chance, he would be able to convince him to return. Kurenai Yuhi, the Genjutsu mistress, would prove a valuable support by confusing the enemy with her illusions. She was also a last column of support for Hinata, so she was also valued for that reason. Kiba Inuzuka and his partner Akamaru were a deadly double team, and being the rank of Jonin also showed his skills. When she told everyone of Naruto's darkest secret, he was one of the first to turn against the blonde. Now she wished she hadn't had done it, as if they even got Naruto back, he would receive a less than warm welcome. Shino Aburame was also a very skilled Jonin, having been good at reconnaissance made him needed should they run into trouble. Sakura Haruno, the best medic nin ever to be produced. Even in Tsunade's prime she couldn't achieve what her apprentice had done. So it was only natural that she takes this mission. Like Kiba, she despised Naruto, not for being a demon, but as danger that needed to be eliminated. Again Tsunade wondered if it was a good idea to tell them about Naruto's dark secret. Finally, Hinata Hyuga was put on the team for a very special reason. While she was only a chunin, her diplomatic skills were second to none. So if the shogun was to decide not to aid the village, then Hinata would do her very best to persuade him to reconsider. She was the only one out of the rookie 9 to miss Naruto, and finding out his secret only strengthened her love for the blonde. Love really is a special thing. The reason you are all here is because you all will be going to the Western Empire and try and persuade the Shogun of the West to aid us in this war. The assembled nin were surprised, they were going west. None of them had any knowledge of the lands, so this was a complete new adventure for them. Is the upcoming war with Oto Iwa and Kumo that bad? Asked Hinata. It is, we will lose this war. That is why you all have been entrusted with this mission because of your skills. You must do everything you can to make him join the war as our ally, or we will lose this war. The future of Konoha hangs in the balance, so you must not fail. Tsunade spoke with a very rare seriousness, which made all present understand the situation better. They were to try and get the empire into the war, or Konoha would surely fall. The imperial city. The meeting was to deal with several financial problems in the southern area of the empire, which was considered to be the poorest of areas. Naruto had tried his hardest to bring money to those areas, and it was only now beginning to work, if only a slight difference. Naruto signed. Sometimes it was hard being the shogun, making important decisions which would affect the lives of millions in the empire. But he knew it was all worth it, for if he didn't unite the country, then it still would be divided and war-torn. Ah, what a long day, groaned Naruto, dropping his whole body onto a couch. Running an empire wasn't going to be easy even after 6 years, at least you don't have the mountains of paperwork to do, remarked Kyuubi, getting a laugh from Naruto. Good thing or I'll be gray and old by the time I finish one of old man Hokage daily workloads, said Naruto, as a maid placed some tea down for Kyuubi and himself. About Konoha, Kyuubi said it was a touchy subject for both. If she hated Konoha, she despised Orochimaru a lot more. I don't know if the old man was still alive I would have, but he isn't. I despised Orochimaru a lot, but revenge being the only reason for going to war is not good enough, sighed Naruto. A wise leader must put the people's welfare before his own desires, said Kyuubi. I know, muttered Naruto. What about Hinata? It wouldn't be too hard for your elite ninja to kidnap her, Kyuubi thought out loud. No, I will not force her away from her home and life. Besides, she must hate me, the demon brat. Besides, you're the one who shouldn't give tips on love. Seeing your own fan club like that imp and his group singing imps that kept half the city awake as they sing his love for you off key, I might add. Kyuubi's face turned as red as her hair when he reminded her of that. But if she still loves you, asked Kyuubi. She was classed as a fox yoki by the ever-moody and dull-toned dragon warlord, and more than one human yoki oni or just plain demon kind tried to woo her, even forced her to be their mate. She was flattered at the wooing attempts like that orge who laid a dead cow at her feet, showing her he can provide for her. The singing imps was still the talk of the city. Those who tried to make her their mate found out that why she was the fear Kyuubi who level mountains with a swish of her 9 tail before Naruto got his hands on them, being a overprotected little brother. He sighed. Still, in some ways Konoha was his old home, even though it really didn't act like one. And there was Hinata, she would surely die if Konoha fell. He admitted that he still held feeling for her, but how did she feel about him? Suddenly he remembered the late Sarutobi's speech about the will of fire, and in many ways he had to thank the old man for being the family he never had. In fact, if he were still alive he would have gone and supported Konoha, because he was one of the few who treated him like a human, like Hinata. He was brought out of his thoughts when he felt a presence near him. Turning, he could see one of his servants waiting at the door. "Pardon me, Your Majesty, but there is a lady waiting to see you in the guest lounge," he spoke. Naruto raised an eyebrow. Who could it be? Did she say who her name was? The servant looked deep in thought as he tried to remember her name. Upon seeing so many guests all the time it was hard to remember all their names. Then it suddenly came to him. Ah yes, now I remember. She said her name was Yukie Fujikaze. Well then I shall not keep her ladyship waiting, said Naruto, feeling this week was going to be good. A week pasted. The size of the wall dwarfed Konoha's own walls easily as the team from Konoha stood in awe as they appeared in front of the gates to the capital city of the Western Empire in a week after they crossed the border to the west. Kakashi turned to the others. Okay, take off your headbands and take out your false identity cards and papers. We must not tell them we are from Konoha, or they could get the wrong idea. The other nodded, understanding the situation, and did as they were told. Kakashi even took off his face mask, which came to a shock at the others. Finally they would see his face. He turned to them. What? He asked, wearing large fake bread that still hid his face. The others just shook it off, while put a simple headband on to cover his Sharingan eye. After getting ready, they started to walk down to the main gate but saw a lot of military unit using the main gate. The civilian travelers were using smaller, more defendable sub-gates that can be quickly closed or blocked off in case of siege. Upon arriving they were stopped by 2 guards on duty. The team's surprise, they were samurai. Only the Land of Iron still used samurai as their main military force in the east and well trained at the stances they took. This easily showed them that in this part of the continent, being a samurai wasn't out of fashion, unlike the east. Halt! Please state your business here. The guard who spoke was easily seen as a veteran due to his age. The other looked only to be in his late 20s. Kakashi took the lead. Hello, we are a group of tourists from the east. The Jonin replied, we came to see the empire sites, as they were told to be quite exquisite. At this both samurai laughed. Well, I have to say we get a lot of tourists in the empire, he explained. If I had to recommend a site it would be Ryu Temple a few miles from the imperial city. If you're lucky, you may get to see a real, live dragon, said the younger samurai. At this the Konoha nin looked shocked. A real dragon? The guards laughed again as they saw the looks on their faces. Yes, real dragons, most of them live in the mountains but a few do live near the temple because of the natural hot springs. They're harmless if you don't bother them, but it's a good thing you tourists came here. When you did, you get to see the Shogun summon the 5 elemental dragons for the empire's founding day celebrations. Quote, Shogun has some mighty allies under his command, younger samurai remarked. Sakura saw the perfect chance to ask some questions about the Shogun. Speaking of the Shogun, what is he like? She asked, making herself sound like as excited as possible. I have to say he is by far the best ruler ever to come across the western continent. We are truly blessed by Kami, the guard started. He loves his people dearly, and tries not to retort to force, only seeing it as a last resort. And he's truly a charismatic individual. In fact, many of the wars he fought was with words, and not swords. When he did fight he was a force of nature. He became known after he fought and killed one of the most powerful warlords in the west, the Demon King, Oda Nobunaga. If he didn't, Nobunaga would have been ruling the empire, the samurai said. I heard of Nobunaga, he was merciless as he was powerful, spoke Shino. I'm guessing the Shogun was more powerful. Either way, he won them all. I used to follow the banner of Takeda Shingen. He is one of the more honorable warlords. Everyone though there was going to be a battle, but the Shogun came under a white flag and talked with him, and Lord Shingen swore his loyalty to the young man. But he is not the type of person you want to cross if you anger him. Many less than honorable warlords found out, which would be a feat all on its own, because if you do then his vengeance is swift. Luckily that rarely happens. Also, he is only 19 years old, and he manages to rule the empire with great wisdom. Mind you, I think his companion has something to do with that. Kiba raised a brow. Companion? Asked Kiba. Hinata was hoping the companion had blonde hair, blue eyes and whisker mark on his cheeks. A red-haired beauty, she was always at his side be it in battle or not, and I know for a fact isn't human but a demon. I saw her transform from a beast to human at will," said younger samurai. Hinata's hope fell. Hearing this, Konoha nin stiffen up. Did the shogun command demons, or is the shogun was a puppet of a demon? The older samurai saw the tourists' uneasiness. The West had a lot contact with demons and other kinds of spirits. Not all of them were evil, and having a lot of priests and priestess to purify the ones that did. Even the warlord didn't bother demons along with the well-known ones, but those that did met their end from a curse or claws of one. It's better to have a powerful demon neutral to you than having one as an enemy. No one knows if she be a demon or oni, but the look in her eye tell anyone that she has been around for a long time. The shogun seems to trust her a lot, being one of his personal advisors, and help the shogun with problems. So far she hasn't steered him wrong yet. Will we be able to see him? Hinata spoke, trying not to stutter. Well, he does hold public speeches once a month, talking about the current events that are usually important. In fact, the speech that was on some days ago was the speech of the anniversary of the empire's unification. I have to stress he is a very good public speaker, able to capture the crowd's attention with just his words. But if want to try and see him on a one-to-one, I think that won't happen. Kakashi frowned slightly. It would be difficult to get an audience with the shogun. Do you know where we can get a map of the city, so we know where we are going? At this, the younger guard reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded map, which he gave to Kakashi. He thanked him for the item. You need it. The city is a maze after being laid siege and rebuilt after many years by one invading warlord after another. The shogun's first acts was to rebuild city bottom up, tearing down the older buildings and restoring the city's landmarks, making it safer. The people welfare came first before the palace was built. For a good 2 years Shogun lived inside a massive tent in the middle of where the foundation for the palace would be laid. He won the people over by making sure every family got a roof over their heads. In gratitude, the people began working on the palace, making it bigger than it was supposed to be. But there's still a lot of the city still has closed off sections where rebuilding hasn't been started yet, so many criminals hide out in the ruins. So if you see warning signs, turn the other way fast if you value your life. This made some of the group nervous. Now, before I can let you in, can we see some ID? Asked the elder samurai. The team pulled out their fake ID cards and showed them to the guards. A column of troops marched out from the main gate alongside their gate. Security's tight, going to have a war or something, Kiba commented, before being silenced by a glare from Kurenai. The old man sighed. Yes, it has to be, he said, gathering their attention. With that war that's going on in the east, that it could spill into the west, the fear of that happening. Shogun recalled the 4 warlords from their home provinces in case it does, and placing all combat-ready clans in the eastern region high alert. The shogun really doesn't want to get involved in this war for some reason. Maybe it's because he wants to protect his people from a war that is not ours to fight. Suddenly for the team, it felt that getting the shogun to join forces with Konoha had just gotten harder. My brother got shipped out last week to the forts because of this, said the younger. A shadow moved with a life of its own away from the group. It had followed them for over a week, having after passing the border. Finally, the gates opened, and they were let into the city. But with all this happening, not one of them noticed that not far from their current position from the shadow emerged a robbed, hooded figure. The shogun must be informed about this, thought the figure, and submerged back into the shadows. Naruto smiled at Yukie as he poured her another drink of red wine. After the mission to Spring Country, the two had remained good friends. Yukie went as far as to cut all ties with Konoha when Naruto got banished, causing a huge blow for the village. When Naruto became shogun, Yukie was the first to find out his identity, and visited him regularly when she had some free time of being the daimyo. She was one of the few people outside the empire he could fully trust with his feelings, and had his complete trust. You know, I still cannot believe you want to star in Jiraiya's Icha Icha movie. At this, Yukie laughed. Well, I thought it would be an interesting experience. Naruto smiled as he took a sip of his wine. Icha Icha was very popular in the West as it been in the East. You don't know how much of an experience you are going to get, Yukie-chan. She blushed at the comment made by the blonde. Naruto's smile only got bigger as he saw the look on her face. A knock on the door unexpectedly interrupted the two. Naruto turned his head to the door. "Enter," he shouted, and with a silent creak the door opened, revealing a dark-robed figure with a hood. Naruto smiled but noted figure wasn't here to see him and say hi but to report as a ninja of the Empire. His face suddenly turned serious. "My lord," spoke a ninja. "What is you report?" asked Naruto. "A group of ninja have entered the city in secret. They appeared to be from Konoha. I trailed them from border to this very city," spoke the robed person, now identified as a woman. "They removed their headbands and used forged documents and IDs to enter. From what I overheard, they wanted to seek the Shogun help for their war." Naruto's eyes widened then narrowed. "Bring them here. I want to ask them personally what the hell they're doing here in my lands. And have Kyuubi greet them in her fox form at once," spoke the robed female as she left. Yukie looked worried. "It looks like I will be facing my past," said Naruto as he puts on his coat. The team from Konoha tried very hard to navigate through the busy streets. Thanks to the map the guard gave them, they would be able to find a hotel in which they could stay for the night, as try to seek an audience with the emperor. As they walked past, they saw that much of this place wasn't much different from Konoha, as they saw similar shops and people wearing similar clothing. What they did find different though was from time to time, they would pass a two-squad patrol that consisted of armored samurai and ninjas. The East's version of Anbu by his guests, noting their outfits and masks as he watched them hopping from the rooftops or perch on a pole. Kakashi had to admit, the only reason why the samurai had died in the East was because of a quick change, and that change can easily have an opposite if another shinobi war took place. Sakura noted there was a few people that made her do a double take, like think they tails or animal ears. A few people that they passed Sakura swore they were wings on their four, but thought it as Western tastes in style. Akamaru didn't like the crowded streets, which could be easily told by his whining. Must because of the small room available and by the stairs because of his size. Kiba did his best to comfort his canine companion. "So Kakashi, do you know where we are going?" Kurenai asked. Kakashi turned his head to face her. "Yes, all we need to do is to turn right at the next corner, then we will be at our destination," the Jonin replied. Kurenai suddenly felt fast movement, and quickly sup around. Kakashi stopped, gathering the other members' attention. Kurenai saw samurai making their way though the crowds looking for someone. A samurai locked eyes with hers before waving the other samurai over. "What's wrong, senpai?" Sakura asked. She got her answer when she saw a group of samurai run towards them as the rooftops became crowed by ninjas cutting off escape routes. "Stop right there," one of them yelled. The Konoha team got into a defensive stance. All around them the civilians tried to get away from the scene, making a large circle around them. The samurai encircled the group, katanas drawn. Kiba growled and was about to charge, but a hand from Sakura stopped him. "No, if you attack, it could make matters worse," she pleaded. Kiba understood and decided not to attack. They were here for an alliance, not to make war. A roar deafens everyone as something caused people up ahead to move out of the way, making a wide path. Clear the way," shouted a man as a large paw followed by another moved past him. The Konoha group blood froze as they saw a large red-furred fox prowl between the buildings, mind full of the humans underfoot. When the fox stopped waiting for a mother, pulled her child out of the way, then move along. The terror of Konoha neared the Konoha nins and stopped before them after the samurai surround them. The fox's 9 tails waved back and forth as the fox's eyes glared at the ninjas, making them sweat a little. In turn made the fox to grin with its fangs. A hooded person, most likely a trained ninja, from the way the person leaps down from Kyuubi's head with ease. "Kyuubi," Sakura muttered. "How is this possible?" The fox burst into flames, and as quickly as it appeared, it died down, revealing a tall, beautiful red-haired woman wearing a blood-red battle dress that hugged her every curve. Her legs were clad in long black leg stockings with the heels and toes bared, as the woman had sharp claws on her toes and fingers. Her cheeks had 6 whisker marks like Naruto's but longer and darker. What really made her stand out, besides being a giant fox, was her blood-red silted eyes. Kyuubi rolled her shoulders, feeling a bit stiff, having used her tailed beast form after having not used in a while. "Why is Kyuubi-sama here?" whispered someone from the crowd. It seemed Kyuubi was a very important person in the West. They must be dangerous for the Shogun to send her to face them. Some of the people with children decided to leave to spare their kids from seeing a lot of blood being spilt. Kyuubi smirked in her mind, having made a reputation in the West other than being the feared nine-tailed demon fox like in the East as the same robed ninja walked behind her. Spoke the robed ninja. It seems I am cursed to be forever running into Konoha ninja, muttered Kyuubi, rolling her left shoulder to get a kink out as she advanced them like they were prey. Walking up to them, her red silted eye looked at each of them but blinked at Hinata before going back to the rest. She sneered. Just like Konoha to just walk into places uninvited, as if they owned the place. Though her voice was soft, the tone was harsh. Kiba was the first to recover, and retorted. Drop the henge no jutsu, Kyuubi, or should I say Naruto, you're not fooling us. The crowd started to murmur. What is he talking about? Making Kyuubi growled in annoyance. This boy was a fool. How dare you speak to Lady Kyuubi in such a matter, shouted the now female robe ninja. Why the hell are you defending that monster, shouted Kiba's, causing the samurai to get annoyed. The robe ninja would have stabbed a kunai into Kiba's forehead for his disrespect, but Kyuubi raised her hand. I'll deal with this. I'm more than willing to correct him on his matters. The robe ninja nodded and backs down, as do the samurai. I'm so going to enjoy this, said Kyuubi, moving towards the Konoha team. Kiba gulped as Naruto started to crack his knuckles with an evil grin. The demon fox had been well known to have before dealing out painful and bloody death. Kyuubi grabbed the front of Kiba's coat and lifted the young man easy and reared back her right arm and punched him hard in the face. Did that feel like henge to you, Mud? Your dog seems to know better. Akamaru whimpered and backed away. I am Kyuubi, she growled as she throws Kiba down to the ground. Kiba tried to get back up, but Kyuubi put her stocking-covered foot on his chest, keeping him pinned to ground with little effort on Kiba's part. Felt like his chest was nearly being crushed. Locking her eyes to his as she looked down a bit with both hands on her hip. Let me tell you this once, inbred fool. Naruto and I are completely separate entities. Don't get the jailer mixed up with the prisoner, she said, looking at Kiba like he was a bug to be crushed under her foot. On her part he was a bug. On Kiba's part he was in shock. It wasn't a henge. Wasn't Naruto the Kyuubi? The demon signed in what seemed to be boredom. I'm taking you all to see the Shogun and he is not pleased, said Kyuubi, causing everyone to have a bad feeling in their guts. Turning to the robed ninja at her side. Could you open us a portal to the palace? She asked. The ninja complied by going through 8 hand seals and using 2 fingers slashed at the air, summoning a large shadow rift for them to travel through. Now would you like to move under your own power, or shall we? Well, I'll leave the rest to your imagination. Kakashi nodded to his team. They would go quietly. They were, after all, uninvited guests in another land, and she was Kyuubi. Without any force they walked through the portal, the Kyuubi with ninja and samurai in tow. They could only stare in awe at the sight they gazed upon after exiting the rift. The architecture of the palace was nothing they ever saw before. It truly was fit for the Shogun. The building easily overshadowed nearly every other in the whole city. It was that large. Take a long break, you eared it, said Kyuubi as she turned. And a bath? You smell a bit ripe, Kyuubi said as she rubbed her nose. Your normal room is ready. The robed ninja removed her hood to show a very beautiful young woman with short purple hair and light ash color skin with deep purple eyes and a black and red tattoo on her forehead. Scowls at the foxwoman. You would, after trailing that lot for over a week, and tell the Shogun my mother and sister will arrive within the week and the Roth clan misses both you and your former host, spoke the woman before she shunshin no jutsu, using shadows that coil around her before sinking to nothingness. The Konoha team was a bit shocked that they were followed and unable to detect her or the young woman was seemingly friends with Kyuubi. Let get going. I would hate to anger the Shogun any more than he is now, said Kyuubi before moving the group along. Everyone noted that there are a lot of branders, all of them one of 5 types. 1 is dark red with a styled fox spiral in black. 2 is brighter shape of red with hanabishi. 3 vertical flowers, characters for tiger and Furinkazan in gold. 3 is white with 2 flying swallows in bamboo with the characters of Bishamontan and dragon all black. 4 is blue with a circle around 3 hollyhock leaves in white and the character for turtle. 5 white, 2 cranes bowing their heads together over a centipede and the characters for rebirth and fire all printed in red. Must be Shoguns and the 4 warlords banners, Sakura thought out loud. Kyuubi turned to the ninjas. I don't know what your purpose is for coming here, but I can take a wild guess and say you're trying to kill the Shogun based on your less than open entry into this city, but I highly doubted it just by judging your team, She said it like it was a threat and an insult. But I should warn you know that His Majesty is not happy with your little infiltration of his lands, she spoke with a serious tone. The large gates in front of them opened, allowing them entry into the palace. Kyuubi? The demon turned his head to see the Hyuga. To Kyuubi was plenty surprised that Hinata's eyes held little fear, and could only chuckle in response. Could I ask why someone such as yourself would serve the Shogun? And is Naruto with him? I have my reasons, dear Hinata. As for Naruto, he is alive, but to where he is right now, which you will see soon enough. The ninja made their own conclusion. Whoever was the Shogun was powerful enough to gain a demon like Kyuubi as his ally, and most likely Naruto was really close to the Shogun. They also knew that if they ever did go to war with the Empire, to capture Kyuubi they would easily lose. The interior had a mix of old and new but wasn't overly decorated but simple. No doubt years of war made practicality the rule of the wise, something many hidden villages have forgotten. Finally they came to a pair of decorated doors, a guard on each side. Kyuubi nodded to the guards, who saluted in response. His Majesty is waiting inside, Kyuubi-sama. Kyuubi nodded, and turned to the Konoha team, both hands behind her back. I would advise you to watch your mouths and any attack will be dealt with. She raised her right hand, showing her partly curled fingers topped with deadly-looking claws. Deadly force. The threat was more directed at Kiba and Sakura more than anyone else, much to their confusion. The doors were opened, and they slowly walked through. What they laid eyes upon was a grand hall. At the very end of the hall stands the ruler of an empire. A man with his back turned to them. Everyone noted the long mane of spiky blonde hair, dressed much like samurai, and the symbol on his coat matched the fox banner. He both hands clasped together as he looked at the city through the large window that dominated the end of the grand hall. Even now Konoha seems to scorn my existence. The figure spoke, his voice filled with venom as the man turned to face them. Hinata's eyes lit up like the sun. Maybe her prayers would come true and he would save her from her fate. It can't be, Sakura muttered to herself, deep in distress on who the Shogun was. Kakashi finally managed to regain his voice, but still only able to say a single word. Naruto. Surprised Kakashi, I've been known to make the impossible possible, said Naruto with a grin before releasing demoic level of ki. Now why the hell you trash doing in my empire? Kyuubi showed him how to produce that kind of ki. Gulping, Kakashi stepped forward. We have come on the behalf of Konoha for the empire's aid in a war. I'm well aware of Konoha plight, but why should I even care? Stated Naruto. The entire group was stocked. But Konoha was you, started Sakura, but Naruto's cold gaze locked onto her, making a cold shiver run down her spine. Konoha is not my home. I was never welcomed there after both of my parents gave up their lives to seal Kyuubi inside me. I sacrifice and bleed for an ungrateful village. I nearly died 3 times in doing my duty, but did I even gotta thank you? No, I was still shunned. Only handful people were there for me, but even they had turned their backs to me save one person stand by me. You know I can and willingly invade Konoha and it leveled to dust just for revenge, said Naruto. But I'm not going to be like Orochimaru. Thought I have many good reasons. I'm a better human being than him. The entire group felt a cold pit of fear in their stomach. This was not the same Naruto from 6 years ago. The guards and even Kyuubi winced at the tone. Naruto had a lifetime of pent-up anger, and she was the embodiment of rage. Was saying something about how angry Naruto was. She sighed, seeing the Hyuga girl in tears. Kyuubi knew he had to be hard as Shogun and giving him a Naruto toned down look. Kurenai stepped up, seeing Kakashi had given up everything Naruto had said was truth. Kurenai saw Hinata was too broken to be of help. She had to salvage the mission for the village's sake. I'm sure Konoha has something to offer that might interest your empire, spoke Kurenai, sweating a little as the former village pariah now turned powerful ruler of an empire. In under 6 years, and locked those cold eyes onto her. Think about what her father wanted her to become, a woman and a mother. She hadn't become a mother yet. If the Shogun had her killed before that happens. I highly doubted that Yuhi. Naruto tone made Kurenai flinched. Western ninja are battle-hardened after years of war and develop jutsus and bloodlines that surpass anything from Konoha. And I trust a D-ranked jutsu from them to AS-ranked jutsu from Konoha. Naruto turned his back to them. Here's what I think, he thought out loud before he looks at them. I see a village full of trash whose blind arrogance has now dug its own grave, begging for someone to save it. said Naruto. His eyes softened when he looked into her eyes, but as Shogun he wasn't able to be soft right now. I'm sorry Hinata, but I'll make it up to you later, Naruto thought. Naruto turned his back to them again. The Empire of the West will not aid Konoha. I will not waste valuable resources and manpower in a war that doesn't involve my empire, so tell that dunk old bitch that the Empire's answer to Konoha's begging is no. The Konoha team were stunned. Hinata was in tears thinking that Naruto hate her too. Sakura tired to speak but nothing came out. I will have you killed if you try entering my land like spies again. For your trespassing you spend the night in the dungeons and escorted the day after out of my land's guards. Take them away, ordered Naruto. As the guards drag his former friends and possible lover to the nice dark and damp dungeons, No saw the tears in Naruto's eyes. Having retired to his study, Naruto sighed. He really hated being a hard-ass teme. It came with the job of Shogun and hated himself more for doing that to Hinata. Turning to the door knowing only the servants knocked, he wasn't too surprised when the door opened without a knock. Naruto, spoke the young woman dressed in a dark blue robe with a white wrap around her waist. Behind her was Kyuubi. Oh hi Raven, you look great. How's sis and mom been doing? Said Naruto when he had been healing. Got to know center members the Roth clan like the clan leader Roth Erla and her twin daughters Raven and Maria. They didn't care if he was a host for a feared-tailed beast and sort of treated him like a part of their family. The Roth clan wanted peace and started to form a hidden village like the ones in the east to be a counter to the warlords and keep them in check, but after the Hojo's fall at the hands of the Demon King, the clans that were willing to join forces pulled out, not wanting to incur his or the other warlords' wrath down on their heads. When Naruto began his campaign to bring about end to the Warring States era, the Roth followed Naruto at the beginning. Erla had the feeling Naruto would not only change the West but the world. She was proven right when he fought Nobunaga, who had the same drive to unite the land, but his heavy-handed tactics like killing soldiers who surrender without mercy, he would have prolonged the bloodshed and Roth would have to fight him and would have lost. After the western lands became the Empire of the West, the Roth and many ninja clans served as the Empire's shadow ninjas who watch from the shadows for enemies. When in war, ninja clans and samurai clans became the core of the Grand Army. All four warlords believed if the entire army gathered in one area and started marching as one, their footfalls would cause earthquakes. Naruto was shaken out of his thoughts as he noted the look on the woman's face, and only one thought ran in his head. Oh snap, she not happy, as Raven was about to unleash her most deadliness's weapon, her razor-sharp sarcasm. Instead of bowing, Raven was going to be very frank with Naruto and let it be known. So let me get this straight, you sent your possible one true love to the dungeons, tick. You really know how to treat a girl. Raven stated she was top form today. Sarcasm was as sharp as a katana sword. I know, bemoaned Naruto and hung his head. I will make it up to her, Naruto declared. Like make up or like make out? Shut up Kyuubi, yelled Naruto. It was his turn to blush. Kyuubi laughter echoed throughout the room. Good, she hasn't had it easy after your banishment and her life has taken a turn for the worst, spoke Raven while trailing the Konoha team. She overheard Hinata talk to that red-eyed woman about being branded in an arranged marriage to the son, one that has a lot of power, and wished Naruto would return. What? She's not sick, is she? Naruto said, then smack himself in the face, always thinking that she was sick. Kyuubi dragged her hand down her face and groaned. He may be older, wiser and smarter, but Naruto's was still thick in the head at times. Raven felt for the girl after hearing her problem, and her ever-lovable Shogun needed a kick in the pants. She in good heat. I overheard her talking to that woman with red eyes. It seems she has a few major problems. What kind of problems? Asked Naruto, but Raven shakes her head. Kyuubi knew the Hyuga clan hated her and Naruto, added Hinata dislike of outdated traditions, and her feelings for Naruto wouldn't go too well with the rest, but like Raven wouldn't speak of it. It's not my place to tell her story, she has to do it, said Raven, not wanting to overly upset Naruto soon after his outburst early. It may be nothing, but I felt you should know. Shall I retrieve Lady Hinata? Asked Raven. Please, and escort her to my room, asked Naruto, grateful that his sister gave him a good kick in the right direction. I want to talk to her. We have a lot of time to make up. Most likely making out and doing it, remarked Kyuubi with a fox-like grin, as Naruto glared at the fox woman. Raven wisely got out of the room to spare her ears from the loud noise that was coming. Shut up Kyuubi, boomed throughout the palace. It had been only several hours since they were thrown into the dark prisons under the palace. but to the team from Konoha, it seemed like an eternity. Not a single word was spoken as none could get over the fact that Naruto had not only rejected their plea for help, but also threatened them with death. Sakura was hugging her knees, muttering unheard apologies to her former teammate, the teammate she betrayed. Kiba just sat quietly, looking lifeless as he stared at the wall. His partner was muzzled and had been chained to the wall at his neck by the guards, not wanting to take risks with such a large nin dog. Kakashi had tears down his face, finally realizing how stupid he had been to abandon Naruto on so many occasions. Shino, like Kiba, just sat quietly on the ground, keeping to himself with an odd Fuin note on his chest placed by the guards knowing about his colony held the queen in a forced sleep genjutsu, leavening the colony paralyzed. Kurenai was trying desperately to comfort Hinata, who at this moment in time believed Naruto hated her after the way she was treated. She was going to marry that man her very own clan had chosen. She was going to be shipped out on her return Konoha with several other women, men and the elders to preserve the Hyuga clan in case Konoha is destroyed. It didn't comforted her that a few of the elders were looking at her with lust and wouldn't put it past them to sample her. "You know we are the reason why Naruto has turned out like this," Kurenai spoke, finally breaking the silence. Kakashi turned to her. "But he is after all, Konoha's most unpredictable ninja." Kakashi did a haunting laugh at the comment. "He isn't Konoha's ninja anymore, Kurenai," he replied, "and it's all Konoha's fault on the whole. We left him. We abandoned him." The Genjutsu mistress signed in displeasure. Mind you, only Naruto could perform a miracle like this. To unite a war-torn land in such a short time, and turn it into the most powerful country on the continent, that truly is a great feat. Kurenai stated, impressed by how Naruto had managed to make a powerful ruler. Thinking about it, he really would make a great Hokage if he was given the chance. Not only that, he also has the Kyuubi under his command, and the people themselves look ready to die for him if he asked. Loyalties like that is something we shouldn't take lightly, Shino spoke, and both older ninja couldn't help but nod in agreement. Because he gave them something many haven't known in their entire lifetimes. He gave them peace, said Sakura. She read up on the history of the Western nations. The wars fought here became known as the Warring States era. Suddenly they heard a roar in anger, and turned to see Kiba standing up and punch the wall, hard enough to cause his knuckles to bleed. One of the guards looked in on them, hearing the racket and seeing Kiba bleeding. Knuckles throws a roll of bandages at him, telling Kiba not to get blood on his nice clean dungeon floor before going back to the poker game going on a few cells away. "Damn, I haven't felt this bad in all my life," he growled out, as he wraps his hand. "I mean, I thought he was the Kyuubi. That was what my mom said after Naruto's secret got out. But after seeing both of them at the same time, and seeing how she was holding back when she punched me, damn it." Kiba collapsed to the ground. Kyuubi punch could have easily smashed his head like an overly ripened melon. "Kiba, we made him this way," Sakura managed to say, still upset by what had happened. "It's all our fault. I used to blame him for bringing Sasuke. I meant Sasuke back like he did, but now I realized he had no other choice. And I didn't see that because I was blinded by the fear of what he contained." Looking at her former teammate, hatred in his eyes, did she finally realize what she had done to him? She also realized how she never treated him with kindness, only with her fists. Now she wished that she could go back in time and be there for Naruto for all those years. Sakura had an idea, maybe she can indirectly make it up to Naruto. Until now, thinking back to their meeting with him, whenever he gazed at Hinata his eyes became less cold. Hinata didn't say anything in the conversation, as she was still trying to pull herself together after the incident with Naruto. She wished now that she had confessed to him much earlier, and cursed her shyness. She also wished that she went with Naruto, but she knew if she did that, then her father would not stand for it. She now believed that he hated her like all the rest. She was brought out of her thoughts by a comforting voice. "Hey Hinata." She looked up to see Sakura smiling down at her. "Don't be upset, I'm sure Naruto doesn't hate you. You are the only one who stayed by him, remember?" Hinata wiped her tearful eyes. "He's got no reason to hate you. I'm sure the glares he gave was directed at us. He said only one person was at his side and didn't hate, that was you, so don't be so hard on yourself. I would say that he still cares deeply about you." Hinata smiled at Sakura's gentle words. She now felt reassured. "Pinky there is right," spoke a voice. Every was looking at Raven, who was leaning against the cell door. They recognized the same woman who was with Kyuubi, and unknown to them trailed from the border to the capital. The shogun would like to see you Hyuga Hinata and offers his deep-felt apologues to you as well for his harsh words. Lady Hinata, at the time the shogun was not able to single you out from the other spies. Everyone flinched at the word spies. Using fake ids and papers wasn't good idea as it had been earlier. This was a shock to Hinata. Naruto wanted to see her? Maybe Sakura was right. Hinata got up and quickly walked to the cell door. Raven motioned for the guard to unlock the cell door. The guard unlocked the door and allowed Hinata to get out, before closing and locking it again. How do you keep yourself from being detected? Asked Kakashi. It was bugging him. How did this Western ninja manage to remain hidden for so long? Raven stopped and turned her head. Looks at Kakashi. A ninja always find ways, spoke Raven, and Kakashi felt a kunai aegis, his face held by a pale gray hand that seemingly came from his own shadow. The hand retracted as Raven pulled her hand, still holding the kunai, from the sleeve of the robe she wore. The Nara never had such control over shadows. Refined though constant war, Western ninja jutsus surpass any jutsu and bloodlines from Konoha, stated Naruto. Thought everyone as Raven escorted Hinata to Naruto. It's like a sleeping dragon, muttered Sakura. Anyone who faces the Empire of the West would face a well-trained and war-hardened army. Now the only way for Empire of the West to even get involved is if Iwakumo and Otto tried something with the Empire of the West and pissed off Naruto to the point of him bringing the might of an empire he forged down on them. No, was that stupid, right? Right? In Otto, Orochimaru meets with Raikage and Tsuchikage Oinoki to finish up the plans of the invasion of Fire Country and Konoha. It has come to my knowledge that Konoha has sent a delegation to the Empire of the West and giving you my trustworthy allies. Both A and Oinoki snored at the allies part. They didn't trust the Sennin as much as they can bench press the Kyuubi. Some early boons to you both. Like what? I'm not eager to fight the Empire of the West, let alone have it side with Konoha. It better be good, stated A. I hated agree with A, but what would make Iwa and Kumo provoke the Empire of the West, remarked Oinoki. Kukakukuku, I highly doubt the Empire of the West is as stable as rumored. Most likely rebellions are all over the western land, knowing those fools have been fighting each other for years. Beside, it would be worth getting a Hyuga female and the son of the White Fang. Both cages stare at Orochimaru. Kumo still wanted to gain the Byakugan and revenge Aegis their lost in Kumo early war with Konoha. A himself reforged the shattered remains of Kumo ninjas into the fearsome force it once was. Iwa wanted revenge Aegis, the fourth Hokage, but Oinoki had a vendetta Aegis, the man. Much of his family had died at the Yellow Flash of Konoha. Hence only himself and his heir and granddaughter Kuritsuchi were all that remained of his clan. Getting the last student of the fourth, he already got one back in Iwa. Using her skills for Iwa benefit after the Toad Sennin dies, Oinoki can die in peace, knowing that the fourth team's legacy was going to be much like his Teme son, who was rotting in some unmarked grave after being brandished. With our combined forces we can remove a potential threat by showing this Shogun of the West his empire is nothing to the power of the hidden villages and strike a blow to Konoha, said Orochimaru, not telling them about several powerful items and weapons in the Shogun hands. Has such items would be of better use by him than gathering dust like on that weak-willed leader's mantle. The legendary dragon sword and the 5 elemental dragons summoning orbs. To the now dead Demon King very own demon-made weapon, the blade of the Demon King, just to name the cream of the crop, and that's not counting the jutsus his dear Sasuke and his priceless Sharingan can copy, along with many bloodlines he can study. Orochimaru had put off using Sasuke body so he can make it more impressed. Pity Sasuke never used those 2 girls he gave Sasuke to have some Uchiha children after their uses in the Chunin invasion and Sasuke first retrieval were finished. He was surprised they were alive after all that. In another part of Otto, Sasuke had finished using both slaves as punching bags after one spilt food all over him while the other was being a useless cripple, and he really hated her reddest pink hair. Watching Sasuke leave both Kin and Tayuya huddled together, knowing the only good thing left in their lives now was each other. If either one dies, the other would kill herself, then stay alive in hell without the other. The Imperial Palace. Both young women walked towards the Shogun's private rooms. Hinata stopped. She was reminded even if she wanted stay, the seal on her forehead caged her right to choose. I'm sorry B, but I wish to return to the cell, spoke Hinata, not waiting for Raven to respond. Hinata turned around back to the dungeon. Oh no, you don't, Missy, you're not running away now, thought Raven. Hinata felt a hand grabbing her wrist. She was unprepared to be spun around and pinned to the wall by Raven, who had one hand hold both of her wrists against her chest, the other brushed aside the hair on her forehead that hid the birdcage seal hidden from everyone only Kurenai knew. "I know everything," spoke Raven, making Hinata eyes widen before tearing up. "Then you know I can't stay. I wouldn't hurt Naruto. I love him so much. He should forget about me. It's my fate to be unhappy and unloved." Hinata's lower lip trembled. "I don't hear this Mark ordering you around. Will it cause you pain if you speak your mind? And I don't see other Hyuga around." "You're only hurting yourself and Naruto," stated Raven. "Think with your heart and not this head stain mark," Raven said and releases Hinata. Hinata stared at Raven, who turns to the direction of Naruto room. "Let's see if fate can be defied," spoke Raven and smiled. She had a good look. The bird cage seal, it was beyond outdated. Her clan used a similar seal. Then it hit her. The thought made Raven stumbled a little. The bird-caged seal was exactly like the wall-less cage seal they used on prisoners, only the bloodline seal and the pain-inducing segments were raised to life-threatening levels ever added, and they were of Roth designed. "Raven-san, are you alright?" spoke Hinata. "I'm fine, I just had a long day, that all," said Raven. Hinata nods. Raven's pep talk got her going to see Naruto, if it was for the last time. Naruto finished pouring up 2 glasses of wine when a light knock was heard from behind the door. "Enter." Raven opened the door. She steps aside and allowed Hinata to enter. "Have fun, you 2 inches," said Raven, and she smirked, seeing both of them have red cheeks. Naruto grumbled. Was everyone going to make suggestions like that? Most likely. Walk down away from the shoguns. Raven had to tell the clan about this and get some payback. "You look very beautiful," said Naruto, making Hinata eep, looking at her feet. It's good to see you again, and Naruto-kun." She spoke silently, but still loud enough for him to hear. Said blonde smiled more than he had ever smiled in a long time. Hinata still cared about him. Both sat down on the couch. "Care for a drink?" said Naruto. Offered a glass, and Hinata, she kindly took it from his hands, and tasted the sweet liquid with a single sip. Looking down at the floor, "I understand that you had TT to be harsh." "I'm deeply sorry, Hinata-chan," said Naruto before taking another sip, "for doing that to you, and also sorry that I never got time to spend some days alone with you. If I had been less thick in the head as realized sooner how you felt about me, then I would have asked you out on a date. Mind you, that offer's still open. If you are interested." Hinata was both deeply surprised and happy at what she just heard. Naruto did harbor feelings that were similar to her own. But, remembering that she had to do something when she got back to the village, Naruto quickly saw the downed look on her face, and became quickly concerned. "I street till love you, but," said Hinata, "it's not fair. It's not fair," she repeated in her mind. Seeing this set off warning bells in Naruto's head. This must be the problems Raven spoke of. "What's wrong, Hinata-chan?" Tears began to form in the girl's eyes, making Naruto even more concerned about his very precious person. He stood up from the couch he sat on, and walked over to sit beside Hinata. Then he wrapped his arms around her in a comforting manner, which she quickly obliged as she cried onto his chest, finding much needed comfort in his arms. "I have been forced in marriage with a son to a very powerful noble I don't like, because my clan wants more influence," whispered Hinata and pressed her head into his chest more, not wanting to leave him. Naruto's eyes narrowed. They always hurt her in some way, shape or form. Now what they did was going too far in his eyes. "I'm going to destroy them and mount their heads on pikes." But to his shock, Hinata wasn't finished. "They also did this." She lifted her hand up and revealed to Naruto her forehead. And to his horror, revealed what she bore. "The caged bird seal. They put this seal on me and shoved me into the branch family. They claimed that I was too weak to lead the clan, and my feelings for you would bring dishonor to them. When I returned, they will ship me off with a few other women, some main branch and the elders, to the noble's land to preserve the Hyuga clan." Naruto's temper was raging by now, but he forced his anger down. He will get the last laugh. There was no way he even allowed some little prick noble and those prevented old men touch Hinata. "Then as Shogun I will protect you and remove this duty from your shoulders," spoke Naruto. Lifting Hinata's head up by cupping her chin with his fingers, he gave the tearful girl a gentle, love-filled smile. Going though 20-hand seal, Naruto's hand became engulfed in blue fire, and with the other hand lifting the fringe of hair on Hinata's forehead. With his other hand he pressed 2 fingers onto the center location of the branch seal. He spoke only a single word. Release. Hinata felt her brow burn, but as quickly as it started the burning it disappeared. What? Asked Hinata, rubbing her brow and hoped that Naruto didn't do something to the seal. Come over here, he asks and helps the very confused woman up and steered her to a mirror. What did you do to the seal? Asked Hinata, but looked right at her reflection. She gasped in great shock at what she saw. What seal? He asked with a humorous tone. The caged bird seal was no longer there. Hinata for one was too shocked for words. Naruto's smile got bigger. Being a seal master has its advantages. Adding the fact that this seal is out of date and you didn't forget about Kyuubi is no longer sealed in me already, besides getting Kyuubi free. That seal was easy to remove. Hinata dumbly nodded. She was too much in awe to say anything. She was free as a bird. She was once more free to fly up to the sun, free from the curse of the caged bird. Hinata turns to look up at Naruto. I am free, but what do I do now? Naruto smiled and leant in, causing Hinata to blush more than she ever did before at how close they were, only a few centimeters apart. She felt his arms encircle her once again. She gasped as his hands rubbed her bottom and the smile became one of deviousness. Why don't we worry about that later? He spoke in a seductive whisper. And with that he closed his distance, leaving Hinata in sweet bliss for having her long-time dream come true. Oh my, whispered Hinata was guided to Naruto's bed as she was relieved of her coat, followed by several other parts, hers and Naruto's clothing, most notable Hinata's bunched up panties and Naruto's boxers. Ha ha, moaned Hinata. Hinata was going to like getting this kind of bliss. Early hours of the morning, Hinata was awakened by the rays of the sun shining through the windows. Hinata stretched her upper body, letting the covers fall, showing her pale nude upper body. Naruto-kun, call out Hinata as she covered herself with the sheets and looked around for her clothes but found them gone, but saw a lovely lavender kimono and a pair of panties and bra. Naruto most likely had them cleaned, but her something to wear found a note saying Naruto had to do some things and would be back later. After dressing, Hinata decided to nose around Naruto private rooms. It had a mix of old and new, taking note of a large closet. She opened the double doors and gasps before her sat a suit of samurai armor. The helmet crest had been shaped like fox ears and the face mask is shaped like a fox's snout. The entered samurai armor had black and orange colors. Hanging behind the armor is the same burnt orange sleeveless overcoat Naruto wore yesterday. On the sides were sealing and storage scrolls, ninja and samurai weapons. Then she saw a rack of tri-pointed kunai along with a long kunai-like sword and a broad sword that made her shivered as she felt its aura. She tried to fight the pull of drawing the broad sword, but the kunai sword own aura blazed, shaking Hinata out of the trance she was in. I wouldn't touch that broad sword, it tends to draw unprepared, spoke Kyuubi, startling Hinata. I am sorry, I shouldn't have noise around, spoke Hinata. Kyuubi chuckled. MMH? Well, it seems both swords approved of you. Only the pure of heart can lit the dragon's sword's fire, and one of strength of will contain the blade of the demon king. Hinata saw both blades' auras glow. A fiery aura came from the dragon's sword and a purple mist-like aura came from the blade of the demon king. I'm not that great, muttered Hinata, but Kyuubi pinched her. Ow, why did you do that? Then stop putting yourself down, leave the old Hinata behind in the east or I'll give you such a pinch, Kyuubi threatened, and with those claws Hinata would feel those pinches for years. Later, the team from Konoha had assembled themselves in front of the palace gates. Around them was a large group of samurai and ninjas that are escorting them back to Konoha. Already they were wondering what the reactions of those in the village would be when they find out that the Emperor of the West was their former demon vessel. Kakashi signed. He wasn't going to look forward to it. Are we ready? He asked everyone. They nodded and were ready to move when a voice stopped them, telling them to wait. Turning around, they saw the Kyuubi and Hinata walking towards them. There has been a slight change in plans. I am to escort you to the border as well. Kyuubi turned to face the Konoha ninjas and gave them a cruel, sadistic, and demonic smile. This in turn caused the nin to shiver in fear. I love being me. I have to deliver a message and scare the pants off of Konoha. Hehehe. They were defiantly not looking forward to the trip back home. Kyuubi just chuckled at their reactions, as she just loved to mess with their heads, making them feel true terror. Shall we begin the journey to the border? She asked. Kakashi reluctantly nodded, and they all proceeded to walk to the city gates. All but Hinata. Kurenai noticed this and turned to the girl. What's wrong, Hinata? She asked. This got everyone's attention, making them turn to the shy Hyuga. I'm not going back, Hinata said this, their eyes widened in disbelief. What, Kurenai? What about the, oh, Hinata showed her unmarked forehead and had that determined look in her eye. I'm staying here with Naruto-kun. I'm staying with the person I love. But what about Konoha and your clan? Asked Sakura. She knew Hinata would stay, but she needed to know her other reasons. Shino and Kiba wanted to know as well. I had been branded and married off to a noble's son. Even if I wanted to fight, I was leaving Konoha on my return with several other women, a few main branch and the clan elder who would sample me, no doubt ageist my will to persevere the clan. That's a joke, a really bad joke, said Sakura. Both Western and Konoha became disgusted with Hyuga. She right, I was unable to say any because of clan laws, and I was Hinata guardian requested by them. If I did spoke out, I would have been removed as her guardian. Hinata would have been left alone after the other rookies turned your backs to her after hearing her love for Naruto. I may have disliked Naruto, but he made Hinata happy and her happiness is more important to me, said Kurenai as she walked up to Hinata and hugs the younger woman, telling her she'll miss her. As both Shino and Kiba looked ashamed, but Kiba got angry. You're saying those teams would have sent you and several other skilled ninja with some old men so they can have their grooved on while the rest of us will died? Spat Kiba. His clan would fight to the bitter end for Konoha. They only send the kids and pups with the elders and pack elders to safety. How noble the Hyuga are, remarked Kyuubi. The disgust oozed from her mouth. But there may be no war. This got every from Konoha to look at her. The Shogun had been hasty in not helping Konoha. He is still not sending aid, but he can apply some incentive to Earth and Lighting Counties rulers to pull in both hidden villages due to the leader of Otto less than shining reputation and the loss of trade income. I would like nothing more than to sink my claws into that snake's hide, but all settled with his little snake pig get trampled by Konoha. This is more than good. Konoha will grateful, said Kakashi. They better be, but probably not. I know Konoha, I know how it thinks being in that village for 3 lifetimes. Remarked Kyuubi. Everyone stared. The fox woman Kyuubi was living in Konoha when it was founded. Kyuubi, called out Raven as she jogged up to the fox woman and handed her a scroll. What's this? Asked Kyuubi, who opens it and started reading the scroll. Oh my, it must be my birthday, said Kyuubi. Smiled the same evil smile. That smile doesn't bode well for Konoha, muttered Shino. Roth demands satisfaction for this. I sent a letter to my clan and got response moments ago and has been confirmed at the items stolen by them after killing Ezra Roth, greatest sealing master. The damage done to his major organs and chakra coils match what you knew about their fighting style, said Raven, looking very angry. Did the Hyuga kill Roth Azur? Asked Hinata. Put everything together. Getting a stare from Raven, Kyuubi placed a hand on the woman's shoulder. Yes, Azur was killed by the Hyuga, who stole and perverted several seals he made into the birdcage seal. Please forgive me, asked Hinata, who got on her hands and knees, her head to the ground. Forgive you? You have nothing to do with this. Please get up. It's not right for Naruto. Nay, I meant the Shogun's consort to bow like this. I'm not mad at you, just, said Raven. But your clan, the Roth, demands satisfaction or there will be war, right? Hinata interrupted Raven. I offer myself. Hinata was stopped when a very familiar voice called out. Hinata-chan, you're not taking the blame for Hyuga actions. They abused and used you for too long. They will have to deal with the blowback, said Naruto as he walked towards Hinata and got her to stand up. But, Naruto put his finger to her lips, you're too kind-hearted at time that the reasons I care and love you so much, making Hinata blushed. Hyuga and their elders will be forced to face this without you, remarked Naruto. They had brought this on themselves, said Kyuubi. Rolled up the scroll and placed it into her sleeve. I'll see to this, you have my word, little sister. Raven did a short bow and returned to the palace. Sakura mouthed, little sister. We'll kept your departure off long enough. After all, I ordered it after all. Kyuubi, try not to make them sweat too much and make sure you take pictures of their faces. I'll try not to have too much fun, shall we? Said Kyuubi and offered her arm to Kakashi, who heisted a little for fear of losing his book-holding arm. Be very well, Kyuubi-sama, said Kakashi. I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, he thought as he takes a hold of her arm and Kyuubi locks her elbow with his. So is that crater in the mountains still there? I never taken the time to see my handiwork up close. Konoha was going to love this, thought the Konoha ninja, leaving 2 former comrades behind but taking along the greatest walking disaster that had befallen Konoha years after its founding. Can I see what's under that mask, Kakashi-kun? Asked Kyuubi, a bit too sweetly for Kakashi liking. It better not be another mask. After a week of sleepless nights they arrived at Konoha gates, and this time the Konoha team learned that Kyuubi had a wicked sense of humor. Kurenai was spared from Kyuubi jokes, aside from the troops. When asked why spare Kurenai from her wrath, Kyuubi replied, "She may have hated Naruto once, but she did raise Hinata when she was cast aside and done good by her." If Kurenai hadn't, Kyuubi had something planned for Kurenai that involved tentacles in mind, lots of tentacles. Sakura looked haggard, her hair stuck out everywhere. She attempted to wash the glue out but wasn't able to get all of it. She had to wait till after giving her report to take a long hot shower. Kiba and Akamaru looked very subdued but looked ready to snap at the same, but jumped at the sound of a cat that had meowed. Shino looked well less Shino-like, and leave it at that. Kakashi looked ready to comment suicide after having to read a yaoi book with a genjutsu that forced him to read every line that woman is evil as sin. Kyuubi was in a good mood. She wore a cape with a hood and a blank Anbu mask to hide her looks. It wouldn't be too good if she caused mass panic, yet. "Now remember, don't say anything about me or Naruto," whispered Kyuubi. "I want them unaware for maximum shock effect." "We understand," sighed Kakashi. Konoha was in for a shock as he reported in on the mission to the gate guards. "Do not threat Kakashi-kun, I'm not going on a killing rampage. I may have to hurt a few." Kyuubi trailed off. It didn't fill Kakashi with hope. Walking down the main street, many ninjas and village stopped and looked at Western delegation and started whispering. Finally reaching Hokage Tower, a Anbu told them that the Hokage was in a meeting with the two councils. "Perfect," spoke Kyuubi. She didn't to run all over the place now. Everyone important that she needed to see were all in one spot. "I feel sorry for the two councils," muttered Kiba to Shino, who nodded. As the group was directed to the two council chambers, Kyuubi only remarked was, "They remodel." "Kakashi, you're back. I trust that the Shogun can help us?" asked Tsunade. Homura, Kaharu and Danzo looking at Kakashi, then to the masked person beside him, a woman judging by the height, but the cloak, hood and the mask made impossible to be sure. The Shogun of the West wasn't too pleased when he found out about the fake ids and papers. "My team used to enter the capital of the empire and we had to spend the night in the dungeons." "So your team failed? No doubt my useless daughter's fault," said Hiashi. "Hardly," spoke the masked person, now known to be woman. "And who are you?" snapped Hiashi. He actives his Byakugan but cried out in pain, holding his head. "What happened?" asked a civilian. "I don't take too kindly at intimidation tactics, and to answer the man with those white eyes, I'm the Empire of the West's envoy and the Shogun's trusted advisor," the envoy coolly stated, and lets go of the hand seal she made from under her cloak. "Why are you here then?" Junin Kakashi stated that Empire of the Wests will not help Konoha, spoke Tsunade. "The Empire will not send military aid," started the envoy but was cut off. "Why not? Surely the Shogun knows the gains in helping Konoha conquer her enemies and the spoils that can be gained," spoke Danzo, appealing to what he thought was a warlord turned Shogun. "So who is the Hokage?" asked the envoy, sounding annoyed. "Tsunade," replied Danzo. "So she should be speaking to me," said the envoy, tilting her head to the right as if she was talking to a child. "Yes, but it doesn't matter," rebuffed Danzo, making Tsunade mad. "So your role would be then him?" the envoy questioned. "Advisor to the Hokage," Danzo answered. "Are all Easterns as confusing as you? Then I'm an advisor, but I don't talk for the Shogun. I advised not speak for the Shogun and speak for him when he is not present," the envoy stated, making her guards and parts of the two councils chuckled at Danzo, who realized he was duped into talking like a fool. "How dare!" "Shut up, Danzo!" snapped Tsunade, cutting Danzo off and sent a glare to the rest of the two councils. After Danzo had settled down, being browbeaten by Tsunade, "What is the Shogun willing to help Konoha besides military aid?" "Trade embargo. It will hurt them a lot faster than it would hurt the Empire and can be lifted quickly enough after the talks are finished, barring any outside interfere," the envoy spoke curtly. Tsunade and the three elders nodded. Even Danzo had to agree. A trade embargo both hurt lighting and earth would Curiel, Iwa and Kumo, leavening Otto all alone. "Ah, I see," said Tsunade, nodding, but one of the civilians on the council stand up, not understanding. "What kind of help is trade going to do? We need soldiers and weapons, not knickknacks. Raw iron ore are not knickknacks. Both lighting and rock exposits the ore to the Empire, who can refine the ore into steel, which we then sell back to lighting and rock." "Now what can steel be used for?" stated the envoy. "Ah, Weapons. It's easier to ship raw ore than to refined locally. Lighting and rock only have to pay half the amount to get high-quality steel they would normally get going to fire to have refined. You troublesome idiot, muttered Shikaku. Why should we sell them steel of good quality to our enemies that they can use to make better weapons to use on us? Shouted another civilian. That way of thinking is what started this little mess. Steel isn't used only for weapons. Many building projects in both lighting and earth had failed because of poorer quality of steel used, causing many deaths. Steel sold to them by fire. Seeing as Konoha who made the suggestion to the fire daimyo. What? Shouted Tsunade, slamming both hands down on the table. You're telling me Konoha is at fault for the impending war with Oto Iwa and Kumo? See your reaction. You didn't know, said the envoy. Oto is Konoha enemy, and seeing the opportunity to get two major villages with long-standing feuds with Konoha on its side, said the envoy. Naruto did hate the place and knew about this problem and wasn't able to justify military actions. In fact, Naruto was actually waiting for an envoy from Fire or Konoha, but Konoha entered the capital using less than trustworthy means. You're damn right I didn't, and I'm sure the Fire daimyo would have seen that would cause trouble, growled Tsunade. Unless he was under a genjutsu or knew but nearer care, or even as a fool, I do not know. Ha, that kind of rhymes, said the envoy, laughing at her own bad joke. So that's why he was so hostile, said Sakura. No, he is that mad at Konoha for what they did long before this happened, replied the envoy, making Sakura hang her head down in shame. Konoha hasn't wronged the shogun. Why would he hate Konoha? And for that matter, where is my daughter? I was just informed she hadn't arrived my clan compound, demanded Hiyashi. A massager had given a note from the elders that his daughter hasn't arrived or had even entered the village. She is with the shogun after having found out the area less oppressed, no, boxed in, no, less bird caged like the shogun founded the lock easy to pick, said the envoy, making Hiyashi pale before his face twisted from shock to anger. He attacked the envoy, striking dead center, making her double over. The western ninja and samurai reacted, and Konoha Anbu moved in, surrounding the group from the west. Hiyashi, do you know what just did? Roared Tsunade, but Hiyashi shout back, be quiet, this is Hyuga clan business. The empire has taken the Byakugan as its own. Konoha must send hunters to the west to kill that traitor daughter of mine. As for this, I just sending them a message. Hiyashi finished and got up from his finishing stance, or tried to, but found his hand in an iron vice grip. Hiyashi, I think you should start begging for mercy, but I doubt you'll get any, warned Kurenai, but really hoped Hiyashi was going to get it. Kurenai, what are you talking about? Yelled Tsunade, but felt a rise in chakra from the envoy. Who are you? Whispered Hiyashi. His Byakugan wasn't being blocked now, he can see red chakra coils. A hand reaches up to the mask and removed it halfway to show a blood-red eye with a black slit. It seems I'm going to be apologizing to Lady Hinata on my return, spoke the envoy, and to clarified Konoha misdeeds to the shogun, who is well known by the people of this village, who I freely pledged my loyal after freeing and granting me a body of my own. You all know me very well. I am known to the Empire of the West as Belheim at times, but to the east my name is feared by all. With one swish of my tails I can level mountains and cause tilde waves. The envoy throws Hiyashi back to the now scared shitless council, ripping off the cloak to reveal a blood-red-haired woman with her normally hidden ears and tail out. Hello Konoha, I'm back, as an evil smile graces the woman's face. Kyuubi, whisper Tsunade at the now unmasked demon fox. Everyone held a bated breath as Kyuubi pulled out something black from behind and put it up near her face. The click followed by a flash that caused cries of surprise and fear. Back to the Western Empire capital. Sitting in an open-air tea shop, Hinata watched the crowd, somewhat daydreaming. Hinata was still a bit overwhelmed at the 180 her life has taken. She was a branch house Hyuga doomed to an arranged marriage to a noble, and would most likely be raped by dirty old Hyuga elders to being reunited with her true loved had made love, and who happened to be the ruler of an empire. If Hinata was a gold digger, she would have hit pay dirt. She would miss Konoha, but there wasn't anything to tie her down there. Her sister used the seal on her, saying she was her better. The seal now proves it and laughs at her pain. Father had arranged the marriage, pretty much killed any feeling to him, and everything she wanted was right here. Hinata, Hinata, said Raven, shaken Hinata from her thoughts. Sorry, I was just thinking you were saying something. Hinata sipped some tea. You told me that your good diplomat skills were second to none, asked Raven, turning her teacup with her fingers. Yes, I like you fill in for Kyuubi when her fox yoki mating cycle kicks in, Raven bluntly stated, causing Hinata to choke on her tea and the half-eaten rice ball she was washing down with. Kyuubi what cycles? Said Hinata, wiping her mouth. Ahehe, Kyuubi mating cycles. You know, in the East yoki oni and demons are very rare, but here you don't need to look very hard to find one, said Raven, and she pointed to several wolf, cat and bird yoki. They looked human save for the ears and tails as they mulling around, and even one of those tall, brute-like ogres pulling a cart with wares that he was selling. Wow, I never really noted, muttered Hinata. You said something about fox yoki mating cycles, after saying that caused a passing wolf yoki to laugh, and turned to the pair. You never heard how wild they get. When their cycles kick in, they screw anything with 2 legs, even 4 legs if they're horny enough. But why settle for scrawny fox when you can get a full male wolf? Said the yoki with a grin, making Hinata a bit uncomfortable. Raven grabbed the yoki's shirt and blasted him with rightist's female killer intent, RFKI. Beat it, horn dog. Go hump one of your smaller canine relatives if your nose didn't tell you she is already taken and spoken for, said Raven, holding a kunai to the yoki's throat as the man saw the hidden weapons Raven carried. The wolf yoki left with his tail literally between his legs and his ears pressed against his head. Thank you, I was bit off guard. I'm still not used to everything that has happened, Hinata smiled. It's okay, if you want I can be one of your bodyguards. Naruto hasn't told you yet, asked Raven. He did say something, but I'm a chunin with element jutsus under my belt. Added my fighting style, I can take care of myself, Hinata declared in high-born tone. I never said you can't fight, but a lady of a house has cartel of bodyguards. Naruto has them too, but normally Kyuubi act as his bodyguard. We watch out and act as advisors, be your friends if allowed it. Of course you can, my friend, shouted Hinata, getting a few stares. Naruto didn't order you, did he? She asked. She didn't want to be treated like a glass doll. Settle down, I'm not ordered to be your friend. You're a good person and you made Naruto, my brother, truly smile. In years he only did it once when my mother made him and big sister Kyuubi part of my family and of the clan, said Raven, rubbing the back of her neck. I always wanted another sister besides my twin. Would love you and so will my mother. I honored, thank you, said Hinata, and she hugs Raven. Mainly 4 times a year for about a week or 2. Normally Kyuubi gives fair warning ahead of time, but it seems she has found the one in this city. I feel sorry for the guy beside Naruto, which you know firsthand how much stamina he has. Hinata blushed hard and had a little perverted giggle as well. You can just picture how much Kyuubi has. Oh Kami, I need a man in my life, spoke a now gloomy Raven who was hugging her legs as she swatched down, doodling in the dirt as a few rain clouds appear over her head. Oh dear, muttered Hinata as she tried to get Raven out of her gloom. It seems dating prospects in the West was as bad as dating prospects was in the East. In the land of water, the Mizukage was reminded of her lack of a man in her life. Need a man, need a man, need a man. One of her aides, Ao, entered her office. Ao, shut up before I kill you, yelled Terumi Mei. I didn't say anything this time, thought Ao, thinking his cage was going to lose it like the last one, but without genjutsu that started it. To the far southern areas near the empire's broader with earth country, the smoldering remains of a thriving village. The village seemed to have been in the middle of the Unity Day festival that marked the day the empire was founded by the Peace Giver, or his more well-known title, the Shogun of the West. A short run outside the village was the fort that looked after the area was still burning, its walls smashed by earth jutsu and exploding tags. A few samurai were impaled by some earth spikes, and in the fields were tracks of a massive snake that had been summoned near a spot covered with blood and scraps of clothing, like something had eaten any captives, and was very messy. Bodies of the villagers littered the ground alongside their ninja and samurai protectors laying around them. A few of the village women whose dresses had been torn open and most likely raped before being killed. In the ashes was a girl's dolly that was picked up by a gloved hand. Such barbarity! The war god Bishamonten does not give his blessing to these warriors, said Uesugi Kenshin, the dragon warlord, as he offers a prey to the dead to ease their pasting after he placed the girl's dolly back onto the ground gently. Uesugi Kenshin looks around as he heard the faint sounds of battle. My lord, yelled one of Uesugi men, over there. As Uesugi jogs up a hill, he saw a massive dragon composed of shadows raised up from the forest to give out a roar before the dragon crashing downwards back into the forest, tearing up anything in its wake, throwing earth and trees along with a few bodies into the air. We move now. Bishamonten will grant us a proper battle to right this barbarity, ordered Kenshin, getting to his horse as his 100 mounted troops galloped towards the battle. In the forest, terrified villagers, both human and Yoki, screamed in fear from behind a earth and stone barrier as volley of kunai bounced off. A Western ninja maintaining the barrier from behind changed hand seals, quickly making earth harden and expand barrier into a golem with massive arms. Still changing hand seals, the Western ninja controlled the golem actions as it bats aside Auto and Iwa ninjas. Villagers that survived the attack were now running for their lives, but a number of Auto and Iwa ninjas found them and were intending to wipe them out after seeing a number of half-humans and animals. Villagers would have all perished if it wasn't the timely arrival of a heavily armed travailing party on its way to capital for the Unity Day festivals. Everywhere Eastern ninjas fought Western ninjas and samurai. Dancing around each other, two well-known ninjas, one from the east and from the west, clashed in combat. Kaiden Great Fireball Jutsu. A large fireball shot out only to be countered by another jutsu, Kaijin Void in the Shadows Jutsu. A outstretched hand shot out a wide disc of shadows as the fireball is swallowed up by the disc, that is reabsorbed back into the hand just in time for the originator of the Kaiden Jutsu sword strike get blocked by a large sickle. Sasuke clashed blades with wroth Erla. "Why are you attacking the Empire?" said Erla, pushing her sickle against Sasuke's sword. "To test my strength and to get more powerful jutsus," Sasuke replied with a smirk. "Brat," said Erla. "There is no need kill helpless villages," as the Kunoichi Sennin shoved Sasuke hard. Throwing him off balanced and shot out a thrust kick followed up by a spin kick to Sasuke's chest that sent him flying. Sasuke grunted as his back meets with a very stiff hardwood tree, only to find a hand of shadows attached to Erla by an arm of shadows coming from inside her sleeve, pinning his arms to his side. "They were in my way and they were freaks. They should feel honor that a Uchiha was killing them," grunted Sasuke as the hand tightens its grip. "Your actions must be punished, now die," said Erla, throwing her sickle with one hand at Sasuke. With one clean cut, Sasuke's head was separated from his body only to be a log. "A replacement jutsu," said Erla, and felt a presence behind. "Do you believe you can match a Uchiha elite ninja?" Erla gasped as a sword is thrust into her back and out of her chest. "And that why you're a weakling compared to me?" Sasuke as withdraws his sword and takes Erla's head in one swing. Sasuke looking down, he kicked the body in disdain. He wasn't able to copy any of her jutsus because they were a bloodline element jutsu, and to think those lazy Nara had never exploited Kaijin to its upper limits, but this wrath proved to be good stepping stone. He hoped the others of this Western ninja clan proved more of a challenge. Sasuke's eyes widened as the body went up into smoke. "Kaijin Great Shadow Dragon Jutsu," shouted Erla from behind Sasuke, who turned just in time to see a shadow dragon coming right at him. Sasuke growled and ran away fast, shooting past people and between trees, hoping to outrun the jutsu long enough for it to run out of power. But looking over his shoulder, the dragon was ripping apart anything in its way. "Enough of this, Chidori!" yelled Sasuke. Turns around to fact the dragon, who lighting charged hand cleaves the shadow dragon in two. Just as the dust settled, Erla's running form was already too close to him and would have injured or killed him if wasn't for a number of hands shooting up from the ground, taking Erla by surprise. She was dragged underground. The sounds of moaning and grunts of smuggle echoed out from the hole Erla had been pulled down into. "I didn't need your help," said Sasuke, glaring at Kabuto as he steps from behind a tree. "Well, Sasuke-kun, can't have you getting killed now, can we?" said Kabuto, pushing up his glasses with one hand while the other drags a dead samurai by his armor. "I must say the West has proven very interesting, wouldn't you say?" remarked Kabuto as he looks to where Erla is trapped. Before Sasuke can retort, two kunoichi crash through bushes. Kuritsuchi was not having a good day so far. This Western kunoichi proved to be more of a handful than she first thought. Her only backup right now was from the two pricks from Auto who were watching, and they're no Iwa ninja she can count on. "Give it up, you can't beat me," said Kuritsuchi. Grins, a bit of sweat runs down her face. "Oh really, so why are you struggling so much?" said the Western kunoichi with pale grayest skin, purple color eyes and hair, with two odd slash marks on her cheeks, smirked and began to push back. Kuritsuchi scowled as she gets slammed up against a tree. "Should we help Sasuke-kun?" asked Kabuto. "No, I want to see how the so-called next leader of Iwa stack up without help," stated Sasuke as he crossed both arms, with that smug look. Oh, good point. Besides, kunoichi versus kunoichi fights can be very hehe interesting, chuckled Kabuto. Assholes, shouted Kuritsuchi as she nearly avoided getting a headbutt to her face. Both kunoichi lock kunais. Each kunoichi grabs the other's kunai, welding hands struggling to overpower or trip up the other. Getting slammed up ages the tree again. Kuritsuchi gasps as a knee blow hits her liver, making her lose her footing. This allowed the kunoichi to free up her hand and formed a blue sphere in her palm. What the? Said Sasuke, and Kabuto looked surprised. Time to finish this Rasengan, shouted the western kunoichi, intending to shove the blue chakra sphere into Kuritsuchi's face. That's the Kuritsuchi only thought as fear etched on her face. Her light brown eyes can see the swirling chakra patterns of the fourth Hokage trademark jutsu, only to have the kunoichi wrist being grabbed by a hand followed by lighting chakra. Blue ACH of lighting danced all along both kunoichi bodies. Both gave out silent screams of pain while as the Sasuke grip on the western kunoichi wrist tightens as he breaks the bones. Aj. Separating the western kunoichi from Kuritsuchi, who fell to her knees, Sasuke throws the western kunoichi into a tree. The kunoichi held her abused hand, seeing both Sasuke and Kabuto moving towards her. Knowing she is outmatched, the western kunoichi tried to escape before she can raise her only working hand. Kabuto got up close. Now can have you leavening so soon? Kabuto's own hand, glowing pale green, slaps the kunoichi remaining working arm. Og. As pain flared up her arm before she can react, Nin wire pins her to the tree. She is up ageist as a kunai is stabbed thought both hands. Jigag. Making the woman tremble in pain. The kunoichi felt hands on her legs, then behind near her rear, not before feeling her up, making the kunoichi turn red with anger and tired to kick Kabuto, but he had already relived the kunoichi of her holsters and combat belt and going through them. After making sure the kunoichi wasn't going anywhere, Sasuke garbs a fistful of hair so he can stare her in the eyes. Where's the dope? Go suck yourself off, was his answer, and the woman gets a backhanded strike to her face. Teme, that hurts, yelled Kuritsuchi after she recovers from the shock of seeing that jutsu and Sasuke's lighting element going through her. She throws a kunai at Sasuke, who catches it with 2 fingers. If I wanted to kill you, you'd be already dead, stated Sasuke and glared at Kuritsuchi with a hollow look. Kuritsuchi gulped and turns to the kunoichi. Who showed you that jutsu, you bitch? Yelled Kuritsuchi. Damn bitch got better tits than I do, Kuritsuchi thought as she looks the netted, straining to hold back the woman beasts. I'll hang you by your tits if you don't start talking, threatened Kuritsuchi. Looks like someone has envy, Aj cried out the kunoichi when Kuritsuchi punches her right hard. That hurt you, loud-mouth harpy, I'm betting you hadn't even gotten laid yet. Shut up, you slut, yelled Kuritsuchi, both cheeks red. She can't help it if every guy she met was a pervert and her grandfather was a tad overprotected. Sasuke pinched his nose, fighting off the head ACH as the interrogation turned into a girls' catfight. At least they're not fighting over me, thought Sasuke. I do believed I have found the answers, spoke up Kabuto holding up a ID card. Roth Maria, age 20, Junin, blood relations, twin sister, Roth Raven, mother Roth Orella, father MHH. Not listed, and only tells us her name, not where the dopes is, said Sasuke and grabs Maria hair. Tut tut, Sasuke-kun, always impatient, her wallet holds more than just money and ids, stated Kabuto holding up pictures. Give me those, Kuritsuchi said and grabs a photo. Looks like a goofball with bad taste in clothes, remarked Kuritsuchi, seeing a younger Naruto, Raven and Mera in a picture. That was 5 years ago, here's a more updated one. Well, it seems that the dead last dope isn't a dead last dope, remarked Kabuto holding up the photo to Sasuke. So he wearing fancy armor, he is still a dope. A older Naruto in full armor, a older Raven and Mera with their mother along with few others posing for group shot. Sasuke, you're not paying attention. The armor he is wearing is samurai warlord armor. Only highly skilled leaders of armies are allowed to wear this type, and this mark on his coat, that brand, is the mark of the Shogun of the West, said Kabuto, taping the photo. Both Kuritsuchi and Sasuke eyes widened. The Shogun of the West was the dope-hated son of the 4th Hokage, leader of the most powerful nation on the west side of the continent. The ground shakes as explosions underground alerted everyone nearby that Erla was getting free. That's right, he is the Shogun of the West. When he finds out what has happened, your villages will fall under the Empire's might, said Mera. You think that dope can beat 3 hidden villages? He'll run this so-called empire into the ground. It's more fitting that a Uchiha rule in this empire, and would it be greater than it is now? Why would we want a monkey-eyed teme like you as Shogun? Said Mera and spits at Sasuke's feet. My clan the Roth drove off the Uchiha before they moved to the east, and Naruto united this land and gave us all a most rarest gift to be found in the West, peace, stated Mera, ready to die. Sasuke stared at Maria, who showed no fear. She stared him right in the eyes just like Naruto did 6 years ago. Hey, then I'll just destroy your clan and take everything the dope cares for, and when he is broken at my feet I'll take his life, said a dark-sounding Sasuke as he walks towards Mera. Give a message to him, he'll understand it, meaning, said Sasuke. Pulls back his arm as a Chidori is formed. Erla growled as she pulls herself up from the earth. Looking around and saw Mera was about to be stabbed by Sasuke. No, Maria, shouted Erla as she watches Sasuke lighting covered hand about to be thrust in her child's chest. Mera, no, yelled Erla, but another reanimated ninja latched onto. No, number don't, shouted Erla and willed the very shadows to crush the corpse holding her, but still wouldn't be able to stop him. Sasuke's face betrayed no emotion as lighting chakra crackled in his hand. Mera's chest heaved as her finale moment draws near. She takes a deep breath, closed her eyes and was at peace. The silence was broken by one word, later. Sasuke was mere inches from perching. Mera's chest only stopped because of the low rumble was get louder and closer. A auto nin near the tree line pulled out a kunai, thinking he was ready to face, not expecting a horse-mounted samurai stabbing him with a pike, or saw the other 99 ones behind. Galloping though the forest, white and black armored samurai entered the fray, turning the battle clearly in the West's favor, trampling Otto and Iwa ninja. One samurai saw what was about to happen, steered his horse towards the group. Sasuke turned back to Mera and was about to stab her. Don't you dare harm her, you fiend, take this, yelled a voice as a chakra lance flies at Sasuke, who leaps back, putting distant from Maria. Leaping from his horse, the samurai stand in front of Maria. I stand for virtue and honor. I Naoi Kanetsugu will not allow you to strike down this woman. Talk about cheesy, remarked Kuritsuchi. Started making hand seals. Jinten storm of times erosion jutsu, shouted Kuritsuchi. A triangle with a small ball in the center formed between her hands. Kuritsuchi thrusts out both arms, launching the spinning triangle that expands larger and engulfed both Kanetsugu and Maria, spinning faster, eroding everything at the molecular level, breaking down into dust. Kuritsuchi smirks, but it left her face when seeing both Kanetsugu and Mera unharmed, protected by 5 flouting notes, each one a main point of a star. Points of Heave's protection, said Kanetsugu. Hold a hand seal with his sword stabbed into the ground, acting as the center point. You attacks cannot pass this barrier. You have lost this battle. Take you leave from here while you can. TCH, Kuritsuchi clicked her teeth, seeing both Tamis from Otto were running and long gone. Tell the Shogun he is a dead man. We will not stop till all of the 4th Hokage's blood is dust. A whirlwind hides Kuritsuchi's body and dissipated, leavening nothing being. Thank you, said Maria as her mother removes the kunai that held her together, and the wire were cut, freeing Maria, who legs give out and is held up by Kanetsugu, who lay her down as on the ground, careful not to get her wounds infected as her mother checks her wounds. Kenshin arrived, having driven off the ninjas holding 2 different headbands taken off their former slain owners. Look like there will be another Glory's War, said Kenshin, looking at the Otto and Iwa engravings on the headbands. Back in the capital, both Hinata and Naruto enjoy a quiet stroll in the palace garden as they neared a pond. Naruto, what did you want to show me? Go on, whisper Hinata. That having a candle-lit dinner for 2 was really romantic, said Naruto, and revealed a small table covered with a white tablecloth with 2 place settings. Hinata gave out a happy squeal and claps both hands together. She always fantasized about a candle-lit dinner with Naruto, and she turned and gave him a kiss on the lips. Several Western ninja, mostly female kind, gushed at such a romantic sight and started to make plans to guilt their boyfriends into doing something like that, or they find themselves sleeping in the doghouse for a few weeks. After sitting, a servant Hinata and Naruto started to eat amid small talk. So how did your day with Raven go? Asked Naruto. Very good. I was afraid the bad business with the Hyuga and Roth, she wouldn't want to be near me, let alone talk over tea, said Hinata. The Roth made me and Kyuubi part of their clan and part of their family and didn't doubt Raven to see past that, said Naruto. She told me about Kyuubi certain times of year. I will do my best as your advisor and I would like to meet the other members of my bodyguard, said Hinata. Oh, that a load off my shoulders. Those daimyo are cutthroats when they want to be. It's hard trying keep them from going at each other's like wild dogs and get them to work together and getting things done that will benefit the empire as a whole, replied Naruto. Kyuubi eared of action for all her help. Hinata smiled as a servant poured some wine. As for the bodyguards, Raven you may already know and her sister Maria will be your bodyguards. The next one is Tachibana Ginchio. She a very rare female samurai. She will be in overall command of the cartel. As for the others I haven't heard back from them yet. Tell me about Ginchio, asked Hinata. She very strong-willed, determined, a powerful fighter and a believer women can be as strong as men and good with Raiden, really good with Raiden. Naruto chuckled, at the memory of meeting her. Is there something you're not telling me, asked Hinata. Well, the thing is I fought her once and we sort of fell off a cliff. When I came to Ginchio was badly wounded and I had to undress her to tend her wounds, muttered Naruto. OMMH, were her s bigger than mine? Asked Hinata, causing Naruto to face slammed into the ground. Along with a few servant and ninja joined Naruto in kissing the earth. Hinata was giggling as Naruto picked himself up. That was mean. I know, besides you wouldn't have done anything with Ginchio, did you? Said Hinata in tone that said I will hurt you badly. No, I had to run for my life seeing as Ginchio wasn't too pleased with the undressing, said Naruto, waving his hands, tried to tell the story. After she settled down and I got her sword away from her, I told her I saved her life and by saving her life, on her Hanyu she vowed to serve under my banner and being a clan leader the entire Tachibana clan changed sides with them on my side. They helped end the campaign against one of the warlords a few months earlier. Hinata nodded. Smoke rises from the burning buildings as the surviving members of a western samurai clan were forced to kill before their captors. The men and the few women that fought were separated from the women and elders too old to fight. Along with the children, the ninja who attacked them bore the mark of Kumo. Strolling though the broken gates is the Raikage. His brother was sitting on the wall scribbling in a small notebook as a blonde-haired woman leaned against the wall with disinterested look on her face, idly poking at a cast-aside helmet with her foot. A stands before his assembled army of ninjas made up of elite Junin and Anbu along with Kumo 2 Jinchuriki. That damn snake better be right about Byakugan user. Muttered a good number of his ninjas were dead already. This plan was a big gambit, not only to finally gain the famed Byakugan but to blunt a major threat has been allowed to grow unchecked. The West had been warring for many years but become united in under 6 years meant only thing. A warlord who defeated his rivals and controlled their combined armies will no doubt look to the east for new lands to expand it into. A will never allow harm to come to his homeland as long as his heart beats. He would protect it. Then when his business is finishing here, Konoha will be dealt with. Both Iwa and Otto were on a joint front, pushing though the Empire's southern flank and laid waste to anything and anyone in their path to instill fear of the East's mighty hidden villages and break the West's will to fight before they can bring their armies to bear. As Kumo carved a path west using their 2 Jinchuriki towards the Empire's capital, linking up with Iwa and Otto to assault the city with the combined force and show the so-called Shogun the might of the hidden villages. So far everything was moving smoothly. His forward raiding parties had killed patrols or silent outposts along the border, and the few large forces of ninja and samurai that attack were dealt with easily thanks to his little brother and Yugito. Now only that large city that stand before Kumo before they can move on towards the imperial capital. Staring down at the prisoners, A was thinking about what to do with them and how to use them to benefit Kumo. "Excuse me," spoke an elder man who soon grunted as a Kumo nin guarding the prisoners backhands the elder. "Do not speak to the Raikage dog," snapped the guard as the elder was supported by one of the younger men next using his own body. A watched as the old man grunted and pushed himself off. The young man bald-headed with 2 long scars, one across his forehead and another right along his left eye that required the eye to covered by an eye patch. Spiting out the blood that pooled in his mouth, "Boy, I've been hit by ogres, that little tap is nothing to me." The Kumo nin was about to kill the old man. "Stop, let him speak. Order A." He saw the look of a man who faced death many times before and wasn't afraid of dying was something A can respect. Thought the ogre remark was odd. Ogres are only spoken in folk tales, right? But A had more important things to do and the odd statement forgotten for the matter at hand. Thank you Reikage Dono. It's good to see the younger generation is willing to hear from an elder. Whatever old man you have a look on you that I respect. Now speak your piece, stated A. I lived for a long time, lived though 4 wars, and having borne several sons and daughters that I regretfully had outlived in those wars, save for my younger daughter and grandchildren, said the elder, looking to where the women and children were grouped together. They were silent, as was the children. This kind of unnerved few kumo nen. Normally there would be a lot of crying and begging, but this lot not a peep save for a pained grunt from the men with wounds or the odd cough. Is there a point to this? Said A. Well, I wonder if you thought on what you will stand to lose when you face the shogun, said the elder. A blink. He lose impossible, he was strongest and he never loses. I stand to gain a lot after I break the shogun with my bare hands, after I be taking what's left of this clan back to Kumo, because your Jinten bloodline will make a fine addition to my hidden village after your young ones are trained into Kumo ninja, said A. The mothers held their children a little tighter. Even when taken by surprise, this clan managed to put up a fight when samurai, moving faster than most eyes can track, had cut down a number of his ninja before his brother plowed though the main, causing his own brand of mayhem, and allowed the rest to storm the compound. This act alone made A desire to integrate this powerful bloodline into Kumo. The elder remained silent, a clear sign that he had said his piece. This annoyed A, but he dismissed it and ordered the all women and children be placed in the compound basement and the fighters tied to training posts in the courtyard. They be collected on his return. A was about to order his ninjas to move out when a voice got his attention. "Let me go, teams," shouted a young woman's voice as 2 kumo were dragging one of the village people from that fortified town a few miles from the compound. A had sent a few teams to bottle up the town's militia, killing a few guards and using exploding note with the odd raiden jutsu keep the militia from being a problem. Grunted A and turned to see what his ninja had grabbed. When A turned around, never saw the smirk on the elder's face or on the other samurai. Their help had arrived. A brow rose as 2 of his ninja were drag a struggling young woman. Now this wasn't what surprised him, it was the cat-like tail and ears, seeing they were too real looking to be fake. "Reikage-sama, we found this girl," spoke one of the ninjas. "This girl has a named Baka," yelled the young woman. "Shut up," yelled the first ninja. As A looked at her and brushing aside some of her hair much to her dislike. "They're attached to where a normal ear should be," thought A, and that tail was no doubt real as well, and he wasn't about to strip a woman to make sure. "She may have a bloodline trait," spoke the other. "What the fuck is a bloodline trait? Can't you bakas tell a yoki from a human?" snarled the woman. "I thought yoki were big ugly monsters," said the first ninja. "Big ugly monsters like that over-muscled meathead," remarked the woman and gestured to A. Before A can respond, his brother made himself known. "Yo, too's she more catty than you?" Rap Killer B, nudging the blonde. "And no way she faking those ears and freaky cattail." "B," yelled A. He hated Killer B's rap. "I thought I told you not to rap," said A, glaring at his little brother. "You say my rap is some crime, yet you know I still do, because but nothing can stop the ever-rapping B, rapped Killer B as he takes off running with A hot on his 8 octopus-tailed holding ass to dealt out his brand of brotherly love, punishment, to his annoying brother. Yugito stared at the catwoman, who noted her staring. "Would you never seen a yoki before?" snapped the woman, making Yugito step back, and she put on a cold mask. "You better learn to hold that tongue in your mouth or you might lose it," said Yugito, but her mind was worried. She had a bad feeling in her gut. Reikage finally got his brother headlock and yelling at him when he remembered why he was in the west. Soon his ninja were moving at high speed towards their next target. After being shoved into the basement along with the woman and children, the catwoman demurred. "Changed. Bunch of baka didn't even search me," she said with a smirk. The women knew the yoki very. She visited the compound a lot. Breathe out in relief. The cat yoki striped off her homemade outfit to show what was hidden under it. Wearing a mesh undershirt with no sleeves with a pair of shorts and a weapon pouch strapped to her back, smaller and flatter than the standard weapon pouch. It held fewer items and weapons than the one used in the field, is manly, suited for undercover work. The village near the compound was in fact small ninja village. The shogun had implemented a bold plan, having been trained in ninja and samurai ways, knew that both complemented each other when working together in battle. For every larger ninja or samurai clan, a Nukenin or Ronin clans would be settled nearby and provide extra protection to local the populace and fill in any gaps the already established one skills lacked. It was problem for some people having Nukenin or Ronin anywhere near them. But the plan was proving it worth seeing. The bandits that used to roam the west have been thinned out greatly when the plan had started. Now villagers can move outside their village wall and not be jumped by highwaymen or slavers. Gotten many to give the plan time to run its course. The cat Yoki assured the families that her fellow ninja haven't abandoned them, but they were outnumbered and outgunned, seeing 2 Jinchuriki and a high-level cage with a small army of Junin and Anbu. Putting everyone to work mainly to help keep them from being worried. Getting a defense line from whatever had been laying around. Ever found some old pole-armed weapons to arm the women who'd been guard maidens to this province's daimyo wives. At one time they could take 1 or 2 ninjas easily if they ganged up, but there was no way they handled 12 or more ninjas. She was their first and hopefully only line of defense. Hidden in the trees, units of camouflage-suited ninjas waited for the main body of Kumo ninja to leave and for their scout to report on the happening inside the samurai compound. A few hours after the Raikage left the compound, left 12 4-man teams and the wounded behind. Soon a few Kumo ninja decided to start the breeding program early, headed for the basement. 2 lechers were greeted by kunai being thrown at the throats as the rest got over their shock as a battle-ready, barely dressed kunoichi catgirl was standing in their way, hissing at much like a blonde-haired kunoichi they know, holding a tanto and kunai in her hands, ready to defend the women and children to the death. Behind her was a line of battle-ready guard maidens, pole arms out and in battle-ready stances as the remaining women and children hid behind a wall, boxes and basement junk. Even the odd boy or girl's head would pop up to cheer for the kunoichi or their mothers on before getting yanked back down. "Not the defenseless women you thought we be," said Kat Yoki as the Kumo rushed her. "Hey!" cried out the kunoichi and met the Kumo ninjas in the middle of the hall. Over the sounds of battle, the wall soon got its first coating of blood, followed by several more splatters of blood. Outside, the remaining Kumo ninjas were under attack. The first were killed by crossbow bolts or kunai before the alarm could be raised. Camouflage-suited ninjas were already striking down more Kumo ninjas. A few Western ninjas were killed but rapidly outnumbered by the slain Kumo ninja piling up. Soon any Kumo nin still alive were outnumbered, surrender knowing their cage would return and punishes them of their insolence. Those poor Kumo fools, after being the men who were tied up outside, were ran into the compound, fearing for the worst. Found a wounded cat Yoki lend Aegis, the wall being tented by several women along the hall. The cooling bodies of Kumo ninja laid in pools of their own blood as the guard maidens pointed their weapons at the sole living Kumo ninja, who sweated a lot, seeing as a good number of those blades were aimed at his crotch. Kat Yoki turned to the new arrives and gave a cheeky smile and cheerful said, "Mission completed." They never got near the door before she laid her head back against the wall and fell asleep. Naruto was not having a good morning, getting up before Hinata and was going to get some work done. Messages had just arrived reporting of major attacks by Eastern ninja and of tailed beast, leading one of the 2 major thrust into Empire's borders. Hinata had been awakened up by the noise and found Naruto writing down official orders and sending them off by number of servants. Hinata glazed over one of papers on the desk, her eyes widened at the report. The entire eastern areas of the Empire had been overrun by Iwakumo and Otto, thought Hinata as Naruto was reading the reports on what was happened. "I really don't understand why," said Naruto. "I can guess what the snake Teme wants. There are a number of items he would have kill over." Naruto gestured over to where he keeps his armor and weapons. "Iwe, I believe, would want to take out a major threat." Hinata spoke up. "Iwe has always been warlike." Nodding, Naruto thought for a moment. "Kumo would attack to take out a major threat as well, but they could be after you." Naruto pointed at Hinata. Hinata stiffly nodded. She still fears that Kumo would try again and there would be no one to rescue her. "Sorry for bringing that up," said Naruto as he hugs Hinata. "And believed it, I never allowed that to happen. I know. Do you remember the first time we met? It was before we became genin." Naruto looked ashamed. He was very stupid that he had a friend, a soon lover, all those years ago right under his nose. Hinata smiled. "It's alright. I was very sad. My mother had died a year early and my father became harsh and cold. After school I was being bullied by a few older boys and they started to make fun of me. Then you came and defend me, but you gotten beaten up for it. After the older boys decide it wasn't worth their time, you asked if I was okay. All I could do was nod. You smile, and for the first time I didn't feel sad or alone. Seeing your smile saved from a life full of sadness, and we were only 4 at the time. You stated that you protect everyone that needed help, never giving up. I used to always cry and give up. I made many wrong turns. But you helped me find the right path, Naruto-kun. I always chased after you. I wanted to catch up to you. I want to walk beside you all the time. I just wanted to be with you. You changed me. Your smile is what saved me. That is why I'm not afraid to die protecting you. Because I love you." Naruto felt tears in his eyes. Very rarely did he cry. "I love you too," whispered Naruto. Hugged Hinata. "I love you too," said Hinata. The moment was ruined when Raven slammed open. Naruto dried his eyes and saw the look on her face. "What happened?" "Lord Kenshin and my mother have arrived with a number of refugees and our sister is badly wounded. She may never be a ninja again," said Raven, her voice full worried. Naruto steeled his face and followed Raven with Hinata right behind him. Naruto fist clench. He vowed to stop this scene. The refugees in the courtyard. His servants were already aiding each refugee, having done this before and did not need to be ordered to do this. Moving towards destination, he noted that Hinata kneeled down to a crying girl. Seeing that she was all alone moving besides her, Hinata wiping away the girl's tears. "My lord," spoke Kenshin. Naruto turned to the dragon warlord. "Kenshin, it's good to see you despite the overall threat." "Indeed, my lord, to be honest, I thirst for the day of battle that will dawn soon. I and my nemesis will rejoice." Naruto smiled. "Kenshin like to match wits his nemesis, then you shall, Kenshin, when the time is deemed right." Nodding, Kenshin then frowned a bit more than normal. Their village was destroyed along with the fort protecting the area, and there were tracks of a massive snake. Judging from the amount of blood on the ground, close to half the villages were most likely. Kenshin trailed off. Naruto fist tightened. "I see that snake will pay dearly for this," muttered Naruto. His anger was raging, but Hinata came up to him with that girl she was comforting. Naruto noted the fox-like tail show. The girl was a fox yoki. She had brown fur tail instead of red like Kyuubi and had a white tip. "She hasn't seen her parents. Are there any other groups coming?" Hinata asked, hoping, but deep down she knew this girl was all alone, much like herself and Naruto. "A life no one should live. This is the only group," stated Kenshin. Hinata's heart sank. "Her family was very small from what I was able to get out of her, and the attackers were very brutal to the yoki because they were different," said Hinata while she was surprised on learning about an entire race living in the West along with every kind of demon, oni and spirits. She saw how similar they were humans and wouldn't hate them. Kenshin was silent. Naruto frowned but then smiled. "I guess we should take care of her," said Naruto, getting the little fox to look at him. "But my mommy and daddy," she whispered. "They had to go away and you can't go to them for a long time," said Hinata. "They're dead, aren't they?" said the fox girl, shocking all three. "I saw them with a lot of others people from my home in the field before some scary red-eyed man made that big snake come out from a really puffy cloud." Finished the little yoki. Hinata gasped as Naruto's eyes became slits. They knew who scary red-eyed mon's name. Uchiha Sasuke. In Konoha. "Not what I thought was going to happen," remarked. Everyone nearly pissed themselves at the flash, thinking that they had been blow up only to find themselves alive with a grinning. Kyuubi had bad feeling in gut and was not from being in Konoha. She was having a blast seeing their faces. "You should see her faces," said Kyuubi, wondering how the picture will turn out when she feel her danger instincts yell out to her. Before anyone can speak or think, several root appeared and chains were wrapped around Kyuubi. Even two ninja of her escort drawn their swords and held them against her throat. Sorry, why Kyuubi by Sama," said one of them, snuggling to speak. Kyuubi just sighed. Her eyes spotted the two hidden roots using a Yamanaka mind jutsu. Inoichi knew the signs of person under one his clan jutsus and was shocked. He knew that there were anyone from his clan station in the room. "I can finally clam what long since been denied," stated Danzo, sitting up, clearly showing Shishi Sharingan eye from behind those bandages. "Danzo, what hell? Tsunade. Be silent, you washed up drunk," snapped Danzo. "For too long this village has been weak. Lead soft leaders, but now with the power of the Kyuubi under my control, I will change Konoha into the military power it should have been. Now I command you Kyuubi to remove the two councils," ordered Danzo. The civilian council and elders tired to plead for Danzo to spare after supporting him behind the Hokage's back, and the clan council ready to fight the Kyuubi. Soon as the chains around Kyuubi fell, everyone held their breaths waiting for Sharingan control Kyuubi to attack. Only she didn't. Kyuubi calmly remained standing, idly checking her claws. "Why are you just standing there? I command you to attack," yelled Danzo. "You didn't say please," muttered Kyuubi. Looking up at Danzo, her eyes glowed and she flickered from sight. The guards who were under mind control toppled over, holding their stomachs but were still alive. Kyuubi was keeling after giving a dual elbow strike to her mind control men. Do you really believe that you can control me using you transplanted Sharingan eye, or don't believe that I didn't learn from the last 2 times I was oh so happily under control by a Sharingan user? Said Kyuubi as she walks towards Danzo. Danzo had made a grave error and just thrown away his pawns too early. Root attack. 4 root attack Kyuubi. 2 root draw their swords and attack the fox yoki weaving under the sword strikes easily. Kyuubi molds her charka to her hands and grabs the nearest root by his head. Iron Claw Soul Crusher, snarled Kyuubi using one arm lifted root by his head and smashes the root into the floor, shaking the Hokage tower to its foundation. The other sword-armed root attacked Kyuubi while her back was turned. Chakra Claw, yelled Kyuubi, lashing out her free arm at the other root. An aura of red chakra extends out from her arm in the form of a clawed hand and swats the root nin like a rag doll into and through a wall. More root arrived and were attacked by Kakashi's team, and the Anbu along with the Western ninja and samurai attacked the other root with pension attacks as Danzo tried to unseal the metal locks on his bandaged arm, but Kyuubi was already on him, knowing if Danzo did unseal that arm there would be a pain in the ass to fight, and she wasn't in the mood to fight a all-out battle. Drawing a kunai from her hidden back pouch, Kyuubi flashed hands while still holding the kunai before calling out, "Fuuten pressure blade." Why would Kyuubi needed to use weapons? She has near unlimited charka but was now mortal, and a flesh and blood body has its limits. Wind charka had been infused into the kunai, making the cut edge longer and sharper. Kyuubi removed Danzo's bandaged arm in one clean slice. Just as the arm lands on the floor, it transformed into a tree and growing at a fast rate. One had to move out of the growth. Even Kyuubi was shocked at this. As the tree burst through the roof of the Hokage tower, as the dust settled, everyone could see the tree sported a human face and 7 Sharingan eyes along its trunk. "Uncle Hashirama," said Tsunade wide-eyed after seeing the face. "Hashirama what? How?" Kyuubi shocked at seeing the second man who had controlled her before sealing her up into his wife Uzumaki Mito after he had beaten her at the Valley of the End. "I'm thinking that a Cretan snake had a hand in this mockery of a tree," Kyuubi said with a snarled, touching Hashirama face, and felt the calmness of Hashirama Mokutan had over her and her kin. "Out of all the humans, only the Uzumaki and Hashirama have my respect." Kyuubi looked to see that her escorts and the Anbu had taken care of other roots in the room. She turned her eyes down at the broken old man she just maimed and was going to do a few very bad things to him in the next few seconds. "So old man, know why you weren't made Hokage?" said Kyuubi. Danzo was like a warlord, destroying, hurting and taking from people without care. She had 7 warlord died by her hands or paws in some cases. "Damn you demon bitch, you should have been a weapon," snarled Danzo, but cried out in pain as Kyuubi jabs 2 fingers into Danzo's Sharingan eye and plucked it out. "At least I use my own skills instead of implanting body parts of others," Kyuubi said plainly before kicking Danzo's face, followed by curved stomping on his keen cap, and lastly grabbing a hold of the elder man's arm and with a quick pull dislocate, then breaking his good arm. Letting the man go, Kyuubi noted that he faded from the amount of pain she had dealt. Good, his cries of pain were hurting her ears. Crushing the eye, much to the protests of the civilian council and elders, but a directed blast of ki shut them up. "Oh Hyuga-san, I'll be coming by later to get my family's property," said Kyuubi, spiking her ki at Hyuga clan head. "I may be a member by name and you may try to say I shouldn't be involved because I speak for the empire, but after my meeting with the Hokage, it's clan business between another clan, be it with Konoha walls or from another village or nation, as long as it doesn't involve the rest of the village or nation. And I really doubt the Hokage or the Land of Fire would intervene," stated Kyuubi, knowing Hyuga ridged doctrines focused on their gentle fist. Gentle fist may be powerful but can be rendered useless by number of ways, like their eyes, as she did just that earlier. "They never judged Naruto or myself, for that I will gladly repay that kindness tenfold. Besides, they trust me to resolve this matter in a timely fashion, knowing I don't waste time beating around the bush, and they didn't want this village trying to converted one of their number to join by any means," said Kyuubi, making a few flinched. They had done it in the past without a second thought. Even the ninja elders were unnerved at Kyuubi's knowledge of their laws and secrets. Hashirama never forced any clan to join or treated ninja with blood like breeding cows or steal jutsus, and all Hokage from the 1st, 2nd to the 5th punished any clans that did any of those crimes harshly. When they found out the 4th himself depopulated 3 clan of half their numbers for doing with his wife's help because of Kumo had kidnapped her for her special chakras. Sakura thought back her talks to some of their guards and few tensed talks with Kyuubi herself. Kyuubi guards had no bloodlines to speak of, but very strong, were handpicked because of it. Seeing Kyuubi the bigger target, Sakura felt sick over year had to take prisoners. Some of them were of the female kind, some even had bloodlines. "Oh Kami," gasped Sakura, having added everything up. Kakashi held the girl's arm. "I made sure they were protected," spoke Kakashi, knowing what Sakura was thinking. Sakura nodded, still very shaken at learning one of Konoha's dark secrets. "You're not going anywhere, demon," said Anbu as few others started to surround Kyuubi group. "You may have gotten rid of that traitor, but you still will pay for attacking Konoha," shouted. Kyuubi guards got into combat stances. Around her aegis the Anbu who fought by their side mere moments ago. In the West there were a few unspoken rules of combat, many followed even in the most chaotic of battles. One, when rivals or an enemy had to fight side by side, you don't attack to your temporary ally right after the battle, no matter how weak. Even the ninja clans followed this rule. Those who did were treated as bandits and killed. Kyuubi knew her guards were highly offended because of Konoha actions, but stayed weapons. The air was thick as tension builds up. "Lady Hokage gets your house and ninja in order before someone starts a war right after an attempted coup," stated Kyuubi in an annoyed tone, and no matter how much she wanted to pant the room with blood, she can't. But Konoha wasn't making it easy. Her men would fight, as would she, to the death, but a fight that they would lose. Sure, Kyuubi can deal out a lot of hurt before she goes down, and Naruto would most likely level what's left after. Tsunade looked at Kyuubi, who merely crossed her arms. "He's very much alive and is," said Kyuubi, but was cut off. "Lady Hokage, that thing needs to pay for all," yelled Sume. "Up your damn mouth," Kiba snarled, shocking his mother. "What hell has gotten into you? That thing need to pay," snarled Sume. "Like Naruto," said Kiba. "That thing destroyed his soul long ago." "His soul? Then why the hell did we seen him in the same room with her?" shouted Kiba. "Dogs always trying to see who can bark the loudest. I always told Kushina dogs make poor allies," remarked Kyuubi. "Don't you mock me. Kushina was my friend and you kill her." Kyuubi looked away. "Never would have killed Kushina or her husband if given another chance, but I was mindless at the time, like all animals lash out when cornered." Sume was about to jump Kyuubi and rip her throat out, but Kyuubi lashed out her arm and slammed Sume against a wall as a charka hand kept her pinned. Kyuubi lets Sume fall to the floor. "Naruto was my jailer but freed me, granting me my own body. Before Naruto, Kushina was my jailer. Before her, Mito held me. Before that, Hashirama had bound me to the forest of death," said Kyuubi. Sakura eyes widened, understanding Kyuubi had lived in Konoha at its founding. "Everyone stand down now," said Tsunade. "But, do as I say or I'll rip your heads off," shouted Tsunade, staring at Kyuubi. Tsunade looked away from Kyuubi before turning to Kakashi. "In my office now," she stated before order the Anbu to arrested Danzo, the civilian council and elders. "Troublesome," muttered a older lazy bum and stared at Kyuubi tail that swayed with her hips at each step. A lot of married men found themselves staring at her ass for a few seconds and had to stop looking in fear of their wives finding out, or Kyuubi for that matter. The female kind of troublesome. "Why thank you," replied Kyuubi. Everyone forgot about those ears. Back to the empire. Maria groaned in pain as she awoke as a few healers were tending to her arms. She was in her room at the palace. "Hey sis, you look terrible," said Raven, grasping Maria's hand. "I'm still the cuter one," remarked Maria. Her sister held back a unladylike snort. "You had us worried when you collapsed like that," spoke Erla. Maria was more prone to charge headlong into danger, while Raven tends to overthink and leaving herself open to danger, but when together they balanced each other out. "So where's that cute samurai that saved me?" asked Maria, a bit high from the pain medicine. Both Erla and Raven's eyebrows arched and both hummed in thought at Mara's statement. "He had Cretan duties that needed to be attended to and had to leave with Lord Kenshin," said Naruto. "I'll send a message to Kenshin that you would like to see your cute samurai hero," said Naruto, but said "your cute samurai hero" in a light mocking tone and laughed at Maria's reddening cheeks. You better not threaten him, stated Maria. I wouldn't do that, said Naruto. Uncross your fingers and say that, shouted Maria. Naruto rubbed the back of his head while the healers only shakes their heads at the Shogun's sibling bonding. Right, no threatening boyfriends. Rats, replied Naruto but muttered the last part and earned a scowl from Maria. With a heavy sigh Naruto had to get matters that need the Shogun. Fun aside, I need your reports, stated Naruto. Erla and Maria nodded. After finishing Naruto Charco was spiking. Damn it, I knew when the team from Konoha that problems would start throwing themselves at the west. The only good thing that came is Hinata-chan. Hinata-chan, oh I remember you talking about her, said Maria and tried to push herself up but her only good arm wasn't responding. Naruto kicked himself. Erla looked at the healers. The leader shakes his head, causing Erla to bow her head. Sister, why my good arm numbed? Asked Maria. Her family shared the same grim look and Maria felt a pit of ice formed in her stomach. Moments later a loud wail echoed throughout the halls, startling many people. In another room, Hinata had put Yui the Yoki foxchild to sleep after learning the girl's name from the remaining village elder who was very grateful to Hinata. He told her he knew what the child was going though have lost his parents at a very young age. He one of the few to be taken by another family in the time of the warlords. Those that weren't taken usually died or just disappeared. I may not be your real mother, maybe in time you may see me as one, whispered Hinata and kissed Yui's head. Hinata wondered if she had what it takes to be a mother. A wail gotten Hinata out of her thoughts, making sure Yui was fine, left to see what happened. A few tears ran down Yui's face and muttered mommy in her sleep. The forces of Iwa and Otto pushed there, though a forest believing they would hidden from the empire, but beings who made their homes in this forest began to awaken or watched the invaders weary. They're not from around here, their markings are unfamiliar. Invaders, that what they are, shout a voice causing many to speak. I said attack, my tribe is ready, these humans will know our wrath, who will stand with me, roared another voice. Many agreed. I will speak to the Shogun before any action is taken, said a commanding voice. Why, for all we know he sent them, snarled a voice. Always jumping, never thinking, you should just stay in spot and just think, said a wise old voice. Do I look like I have leaves growing out my ears? Snarled the being. It would be an improvement, muttered the old voice. What was that? Snarled the voice, but a blast of fire prevented any fight to start. Then if he did, he will feel Aona's wrath till I return. You will stay yourselves, spoke the commanding voice. Fine, but I will attack if they attack me or my tribe, snarled the voice. The uprooted, always moving, never staying still, sighed the old voice as something massive moved into the trees. Just keep watch and make sure they are the other don't start fight, said the commanding voice. THSTA all for now. If you enjoy then please like, share and do comments.